Welcome back to Lesser Known Operators. I am your host, Nicholas Allen, and I went back and listened to my intros of my previous episodes, and they sounded terrible. So now I'm not going to write anything down. We're just going to get right into it. Sat down last night with a good friend of mine, Tom Bridgham, another long episode, over 3 hours. I enjoyed the conversation, and I hope you do too. Thank you for listening, and enjoy the show. All right, Tom, welcome to Lesser Known Operators. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. I'm real happy to be here.
Fuck yeah, man. It's been, it's been, so we graduated at the end of 14, right? So it's been 11 years since we've actually seen each other.
That's crazy. It's been that long already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
people have come in and got out all in the time that, because I look back, I talked to somebody the other day, they're like, oh, we've been out for 6 years now. I was like, oh my God,
Time
so.
flies.
Yeah, it does. But not like the time when we were in, like the time when we were in the service, it was just over. Like
That's right.
because I remember I showed up to my unit at Fort Sill, and then one day I was getting medically retired. And I was like, what the fuck happened here?
Yep.
I don't know if it was the same for you.
It was, man. It was a big time warp, to be honest with you, man. Like I kind of looked at it as like after my first re-enlistment, I did that because like I was super young, like had a really young baby at the time, and I didn't have a backup plan, so I was like, well, let me stick it out. This is consistent. And then I looked at it as like the first half and then the second
Yeah.
half. And both of them went by real quick, man.
Yeah, it too quick. You didn't look back. But okay, let's just so you're how old are you now? You got to be a few years older than me.
Well, I turned 39 a couple weeks ago.
All right, so you're
So
2 years older than me,
getting up there.
and you're living in North Carolina, right?
Yep, that's correct.
All right. So let's see. I think you are my first guest that is like myself, was in the regular army before you went to Special Forces selection. So where did you start out your military career at?
Man, way back when. My first unit was in Grafenwehr, Germany. It was the 535th something. I don't. It was back when Graf was like a tiny little place, not what it is now. And it was an engineer unit.
Okay.
I got there, I think around January, and immediately went to Iraq for a year. Came back and did the whole Europe thing for about 12 months. And during that time, I had a PL that I really looked up to, and he was a former enlisted guy, former E7 from Bragg. He had, his Master Blaster wings on. I thought that was super cool. And you always tell stories, had a big old Copenhagen in. I just thought he was great, even though he was an officer. Um, and, he really talked me into coming here. He's like, man, you need to go jump out of planes if you want to experience a rush. So that's how I started working, even as a young E4, like calling branch, and finally made my way over here to Bragg. Which and then landed me really in the best unit, hands down in the Army. When it comes to the big Army, I was in the 27th Engineer Battalion here on Bragg, right on Smoke Bomb Hill. Just
Okay.
a great group of dudes, man. The leadership was awesome, and I think that's like really where like I felt like I was being developed. Just the way they did things. We were jumping a lot, so it was the first time I was seeing like, troop leading procedures being executed like in real time. And everyone was involved. Um, it was awesome, man. Um,
And what's your MOS? Are you a combat engineer at this
uh,
time?
so, dude, so the Army changed it around a lot. So I originally enlisted as a crane operator. Because
Obviously.
yeah, right, because that makes sense. Um, but like for me, going to college like wasn't an option. And I had to get out of where I was growing up. So the military seemed like the ticket. And in my mind, I was like, well, let me pick something here, that's like a trade that I can learn and then get out, hopefully make some money doing, and I chose that. But while I was in the regular Army, they changed, the um, whatever, the MOS or whatnot a couple
Yeah.
times.
So you get to Bragg, and God, this is 2006. It's got to be
2007. Yep.
7, and that's just when they're starting to redo things and redo all the big buildings are start to get built with all the war money there, right?
Yep. That's right, man.
So you did one combat rotation while you were in Grafenwohr,
Yep.
however you
Yep.
say it, in
Grafenwehr.
Germany,
Yep.
and then you get to the 82nd. Now, what was that like? I mean, so because you hear about guys, your first duty station, you go to basic and AIT, and then you go overseas for your first duty station. How was that?
Dude, being in Europe, Germany as an 18, 19-year-old kid, it was wild. It was fun. It was a lot of fun, a lot of drinking, a lot of partying. Just a totally different world. I think, had I have gone there as I was older and hopefully a little bit more mature, the experience would have been a little different. But it was fun to be there. And then coming
Yeah,
here
because
to, it was wild, man.
what's the barracks life when you're 18, 19, 20, 21 is crazy enough, but then you set somebody loose in Europe where did the U.S. Army Europe have to follow the 21 years to drink, or was it 18 there?
Nope. It was 18,
Okay.
man. Green
Okay,
light.
so it's the Wild West then.
Yep. 100%. 100%.
So a lot of extra duty for guys messing up and shit.
Yep. Got a bunch of that. Sure did.
So how was that like transitioning from, Europe? Now you're in 82nd, where that's the flagpole. That's the
Yep.
only place more controlled than that is the Pentagon, right? Like you're right there. Command is staring down your neck. How was that transition?
I welcomed it, man. Honestly, like being in Germany was fun. Being in Europe was fun. But like I missed America. I missed going deer hunting. Like I missed being able to drive normal vehicles. There were just a lot of things that I guess I took for granted. So when it was time to come back here, I really I did welcome it.
Yeah.
And then I mean I was young and like real impressionable, and I gravitated towards everything that Fort Bragg is and was back then. Um, seeing a bunch of dudes with like maroon berets for the first time, seeing like green berets, like I was like, wow, this is awesome. This is where I'm supposed to be. Um, the war was in full swing back then. The focus primarily was Iraq at that time, and went back with them, and I was super pleased with them, man. And I think the difference was the fact that units on Bragg, at least back then, I'm sure they still do, like they train, and they take it very serious. I don't know if they train more because they are airborne, and they always have follow-on missions or whatnot, and they got to be ready to deploy in a short timeline, but it was different, and I welcomed it.
Yeah, I mean, if you come in as a new guy or whatever, E4, E5, and you've got your head screwed on straight, it's great, right?
Yep.
That'll command will pick up on that. You'll get a leadership role. You'll be in charge of stuff. You'll have people, and you can really excel, especially like in the 82nd, because there's a lot of pride in the unit there. There's nothing when you're in the 82nd. There's nothing more important than that maroon beret and jumping out of aircraft. So it's really a place where you can thrive, especially if you're like, this is, you just come from a life where I'm not going back to that on the civilian side.
Yeah.
And you've got this regimented discipline and you can really get into it. So how long were you in the 82nd?
So about 2 years roughly. I was too crazy. I was promoted to an E5 pretty much right when I got there. while we were deployed, came back, and somehow I ended up going to what? No, I told my first sergeant, I was like, "Hey, I want to go to the staff sergeant board, as soon as I'm eligible." And he laughed at me. I was young. He's like,
Yeah.
"Hey, you go win the NCO of the Year competition, and I'll send you to the E6 board." I was like, "Okay." I took him up on it, man, and I won. And then went to the staff sergeant board. Of course, that went well. But right after that, I was sent to California and NTC as like a rotational observer controller.
Okay.
Like with my company command team. That was the first time I really spent quality time with them.
Yeah.
And while I was there, I came down on drill sergeant orders. So that's what pulled me away from Bragg at that time. It was to go be a drill sergeant, man.
Where'd you go for basic?
So at that time, I don't know if it's still the same, but at that time, the only drill sergeant school was in Fort Jackson in South Carolina. Um,
Yeah.
so I mean, it was
Yeah, that's the
convenient.
only school for drill sergeants. But
Yep,
where were you on the trail, I guess is the
Fort
truth. Where
Leonard
were
Wood,
you?
Fort Leonard Wood,
Ooh.
Missouri.
Oh,
Yep,
Fort Lost in the Woods.
yep.
Yeah. There.
That was interesting. It was very interesting.
Yeah, why is that? Why? I've heard guys they loved it. I've heard guys that they absolutely hated it. What makes it interesting?
So, in my humble opinion, and this is just in Tom's view, and again, like this was a long time ago. I mean, man, yeah, it was probably like 15-ish years ago. The people that really loved it and like they lived and breathed it, a lot of times they were like, I don't know, like chemical guys or like, S1, like this was the pinnacle and the height of their career and they ate it up.
Hmm.
Um, their uniform was always like pressed, and even when we were in the ACU digital stuff, they'd still do things like that. Um, but then when it came time to apply things, like let's go shoot, let's teach someone to shoot, like teach you how to pack your rucksack. They were a soup sandwich, and they'd rely on everyone else. So like, I don't know. It was rewarding. I learned a lot, especially like when it comes to leadership and having to deal with large amounts of people. What was it? Around 300 privates. In one class. That's a lot of people, man, to be taken off the streets and then putting them through the whole 9 weeks or whatever it was. So there was a lot of leadership development there, a lot of coordinations, and I think it really paid off later on.
Yeah, because you've got every pretty much. I think you had a break on the back end of a week and the front end of a week, but then you'd have like every 12 weeks you're getting 300 people that don't know anything about anything,
It was
and you
wild.
gotta you gotta get them into some sort of shape, and then by the time you mold them into something that's useful, they take them away and
Yeah,
give you a new group of
yeah,
soup sandwich, as you said.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, I've heard some guys hated it. They just couldn't deal with the people. They couldn't deal with the students, especially guys going from group.
Oh
Because
man.
every once in a while, was my last job was at battalion. I was the battalion tasking soft NCO,
Okay.
and that would come up once in a while. I'd go, "Hey, Sergeant Major, we got to send somebody to drill sergeant school," and they go, "All right, just who's on red cycle? Okay,
Yeah.
yep, go give so and so the bad news," and that was always tough.
Oh
But hey,
Lord. Yeah.
that's
Though, man, it was teaching. It's what we do as Green Beret. Like it 100% was teaching. There was not a single aspect of basic training that like I didn't have to teach my platoon, right? I'm talking about all the way down to like the shower, man. Like, you know,
yeah,
you hang your towel here. Here's your soap. Here's your washcloth. Like I would dummy proof it and make it routine in those first few weeks. We had time hacks, man. Everything was taught, dude. Taught them how to make their bed. Like, of course, shoot, like all this stuff like that. And I believe that Green Berets would be awesome at it. That's what we do. We teach. But then there's the side of like all the rules and, like
Yeah.
it's like you want to talk about being under a microscope. Everybody's looking, eyes are on you all the time. You have to, I hate to say, you have to be shaved. You have to have the haircut, like things that
Yeah.
we just push away. That stuff aside, truly, I think if we could embrace it, I think we'd be pretty good at it.
If you were sold on the idea, right? But I guess if it depends on when you took somebody too, right, and sent them there. Because if you take a guy that's just coming back off deployment and his wife's left him and his life's
Ooh,
falling apart, and you send him to drill
ooh,
sergeant school, it's going to be completely different than the guy that's just spent 2 years on the B team who's got his life figured out and everything. He goes,
100%.
yeah, okay, I guess that won't be bad. So, and that filters into all the different personalities in the hallway of the company, right? You've
Yep,
got people that all killers, top of their field, all killers. But some of them, their life is falling apart,
oh
and
yeah,
some of them they got it figured out, and then you got everybody in between there,
you're
and that
absolutely
applies to like everything. Whether it's any school, you send them to the wrong thing, and I guess that's what the team sergeant's job is goes, that's not going to work. We're going to have to figure something out. But
yep.
you find out if you have a good sergeant major or a bad sergeant major that doesn't give a shit about the guys. But
That's right, man. They have to manage that talent, and it was, dude. It was 100% divorce rate. Like in my company, anyway. When I was on the trail, everybody got divorced. Um,
you're talking about as drill sergeant.
as a drill sergeant, yep. It was tough, dude. Everybody went through it. It was pretty sad. But
Oh, that sounds like, some of the teams I was attached to where we had over 100% divorce rate.
yeah, dude. You hear like it's a saying like, oh, how many marriages have you? How many times have you been divorced? Like, it's unfortunate, man. That it's like it's the norm for us.
Yeah.
I hate
Um,
that, guys.
it's, what is the joke? It's you're not infantry until your first divorce and you're not SF until your second divorce.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth to that, man. You know,
Um, but then I said to other, the job, especially SF, but the Army in itself, it will take everything from you. It'll take everything you'll give it. And if you give it a little rope on your personal life or on your finances or on anything, it'll take it all. Like a fish running all the spool of line out. It'll take it and it's not giving it back. And it doesn't care either.
that's
And then
right.
one day it's going to be over and you got nothing.
Yep,
You got
you're
nothing to
right,
look
man.
back on. So I guess it's all that discipline, which unfortunately we don't learn until we're our age, late 30s, early 40s. You start learning that sort of thing. Um, and unfortunately, it doesn't come in until now. And you look
Right.
back and go, I probably should have handled that situation better.
Yep, that's right, man. Yep.
But whatever. So you're drill sergeant. What do you do? 3 years for that?
That so 2-year commitment. A lot of people were doing 3 years. At that time, I don't know if it still is, but at that time, it was pretty much like career suicide. Um, but people, especially people going through divorces or whatnot, would almost be forced into that third year. I was
Yeah.
not. I did 2 years. As soon as I could, I got out of there. Um, and from there, I went just right down the road to Fort Riley in Kansas, and I was there for about, I think, a total of 9 months. I got there and I was, blessed. I was given a route clearance platoon. I had 40 good dudes.
So E7 at this time or still E6?
Still E6. I think I got promoted probably 3 or 4 months into being in Riley. Um, but I had a team leader there. He was also a first group guy. Um, he had been to selection and, something happened and he wasn't selected. And he came back right as I was taking over the platoon. Awesome dude, man, like super stud. One of the only sapper tab guys that was in the company. And he and I just clicked. We got along real well. And he's like, I'm going back. I know what I need to do. Like, I'm gonna train and I'm going. And so,
Mm-hmm.
as far as training goes, that's I kind of planned things around that. I was like, all right, I know he's gone because he was a huge integral piece to the success of our platoon. He already had combat experience, like he was proven. And during his train up, I'd be training with him. And I think one day he's like, "Hey man, why don't you just go?" And I was like, "Yeah, we'll see." And just kind of kicked the can down the road. And then when I got promoted to E7, there's a short period of time when you can attend SFAS because
I
you've
think
been
you get a
promoted.
year. I
Yep.
think you get a
And
year.
that's when I was
Yeah.
like, I have to go.
Yeah.
And I did,
Why?
man.
Why did you have to go? Why?
Well, I say I have to go. If there was a chance of me going, I had to do it then.
Okay, so now I'm up against the clock.
Right.
If I say no, I'll never get to know if I was that good,
That's
right?
correct.
So time.
So I need to back up. When I was at Fort Bragg the first time, I had gone to selection. I forgot to tell you this, and I'm going to tie it into
Whoa! Cancel the podcast.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So actually, I was talking to my girlfriend about this earlier today. So first time I was in Bragg, I had gone to SFAS. It was when it was a 14-day course.
2 weeks in hell.
Yep. The same cadre were there. I actually pulled a clip of that up and showed her
What
today.
year is this?
Man, maybe 07, maybe 08, sometime in
Okay.
there. And I had dude, I think I had like a day left. We were in team. That was hard, bro. There was no downtime. There was no oh, let me go take a shower. No, dude, there's no time for that. It was tent city, freezing, sucking, that was hard. Anyway, I want to say I had a day left, and my knee hurt. Everybody's knee hurt, right? And I'm feeling sad for
Everything hurts.
myself, doing an ammo crate carry, and there's big dudes, they're crushing. I'm like a little guy, dude. I'm probably 145 pounds. When I started this thing, just feeling sorry for myself, and the cadre have their trucks stationed strategically along the route. And one of the cadres was like, "Hey, candidate, you want to see a medic?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's a great idea." Big mistake, dude. So he's like, "All right, hey, park it over here, take your rucksack off, sit down, truck will be here to pick you up." I was like, "All right." I mean, dude showed up and it wasn't the medic. He's like, "Hey, hop in, throw your stuff in." Got in the back of the truck, rode back. Dude, I think tears came out. I'm not even lying. And he's like, "Hey, you've you voluntarily withdrew from the course because you opted, or I said that I needed to see a med." They gave me a lot of heartburn. A lot of heartburn, dude. That was one of the hardest things I did was that 2 weeks. And I'm gonna come back to that later on when I'm in charge of SFAS, and kind of how I gave my brief to the course and all the candidates. But yep,
I just like to say that at that time, because so you're saying this is 07, 08, right?
yep,
SF didn't get involved in Afghanistan till pretty much 2002, really
yep.
heavy in 2002, right? So those guys, they're starting to come through the schoolhouse now in 2007,
That's right.
and they don't give a fuck about those candidates.
No, dude.
I can't speak for them, but I can speak for my attitude that I would have if I was there. They didn't give a fuck about you at all.
Nah, not at all. They were salty pipe hitters that did not want to be there.
No, they wanted to be over there.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
especially
right.
then. We're
Yep.
in full swing, and they don't want to be there watching candidates that aren't going to make it because the fail rate at that point was probably horrendous.
Oh, yep, yep. You're right,
So
man.
yeah. Anyway, continue on, but that's just the personality of things of guys, because you go to schoolhouse in the 2000 teens or 20s, it's probably different, but
Oh,
everybody's just
totally
champing at the
different.
bit to go to war at that time.
That's right. It's totally different, Nick. And a little further into the story, like I'll be able to speak to that, and I think it'll make a little bit more sense. Yeah, it was very different at that time. But anyway, I was in Fort Riley this time. Went to selection with my team leader, and the course. I think it was 21 days or 28 days, whatever it is. Pretty much, it was
Uh,
at least double the
in
length.
in what year?
Dude, I don't remember. It was when I went to selection, and then you and I were in the course together.
So if
So
we
probably
graduate, because
12
I
or
went to
13.
selection I went the first time in January of 12, and I hurt my knee, and I went back in September of 12, and then it took me 6, 7, 8 months to PCS to the course, and then I went straight through the course in just over a year or something like that.
So yeah, it was
So
probably
you had to
sometime
be,
12.
yeah, you had to be somewhere. Was it cold or hot?
Man, I don't remember. I think if I were to guess, I would say it was springtime. But again, like
Okay.
I really can't remember, man.
So you
Um,
probably went in like spring of 2012 then.
Probably.
Yeah.
I say that.
So I think we were 3 weeks. Because you could be a 21 day, it was a 21 day course, 3 weeks in hell. That was what they said at the end of that documentary.
That's right. Yep.
So it was,
Yep.
but I remember there was a lot of downtime. They didn't tell it there. They didn't show that on the documentary. There was a lot of downtime at selection.
Dude, I couldn't believe it. I kept telling, my buddy John, I was like, this is very different. Like, I was expecting just to get my, you know, kicked in the dirt the whole time. But there was a lot of downtime. Like, I felt recovered, up until we were probably halfway through land nav, and that's when it just started to suck all the time. But leading up
Yeah.
to there, like, as long as you ate all your food and like you were staying hydrated and stretching
As
and
long as you ate all your food, guys, they wouldn't eat that whole MRE, and I'd be snatching their food up,
that's
and I'd be
right.
gone the next day, and I'd
Yep, give
still
me
be
them
there.
crackers, dude.
Yeah, I'm gonna eat that. Can I eat that? That's the mayonnaise. Yeah, let me give me the mayonnaise too.
That's right. Yeah, mix that
Guys, would
with
they
sugar.
everything? I was eating everything I could find out of the trash. I was starving.
Trash panda, dude.
Fuck yeah, man.
Yeah, dude, you
Uh,
burn an unbelievable amount of calories there. Like it's unbelievable, and
and you're
even
stressed out. You're stressed out the whole time. That you're going to do something wrong, like you're going to shit in the wrong bathroom, and they're going to drop you from the course and bar you from reenlistment or some shit like that.
yeah, that's right. Take your firstborn.
Yeah. So you're always on edge. But yeah, that is one thing. Guys would just get lazy, and they're like, "Oh, I'm not hungry. You're gonna be."
That's right. You're gonna wish, yeah, 10 days from now, you're gonna wish you ate that gross veggie omelet.
Fuck yeah. So how was the selection for you? Was there a time, because you'd seen kind of the playbook the first time, and
Yep.
I had the advantage too because I went 8 months. Mine were 8 months apart,
Okay.
and when I went through the second time, I was like smashed it. I knew
Comfortable.
exactly
Yeah.
what we were going to do. They hadn't changed anything. They hadn't changed any of the. It was exactly the same, and I just went through. It was like, this is great.
Yep.
But whatever, that was the advantage of going twice. But yours was a little different. So was there any point where you, on your second time through, were like, this, I'm not going to make it? Or was it kind of just, I
No,
got this?
man. Nah, I was comfortable throughout the whole thing. Like, granted, it was probably 4 years apart, at least 3 years apart, but
Yeah.
I was comfortable. I think like as a person, I had matured more. Again, I'm an E7. Like I had done some things when I got there, so like that atmosphere, it freaked some people out. I was comfortable. Like I was the drill sergeant, where I was like leading people, roughly the same size as our selection class would start with. I
Yeah.
was
You had
comfortable in the woods, and um,
yeah, you had 10 years in the Army almost at that point. The cadre probably is similar, the
yeah,
E7
exactly.
cadre there. So,
Yep. Um, No, there wasn't a point where, you know, I was thinking that I wasn't going to make it. If anything, it would probably be like peers, because you know there's always this saying like, oh, the X-ray clique or the X-ray whatever, like they're going to team up on guys and you know vote them
which
off the
which
island.
which which they didn't do.
No,
Because the last guy I talked to the other day, he was in that early SOPC, that group in 2000. Hey, I think he said it was
ooh, that was
2005 or
hard.
four, when it was real. That was the he said it was brutal. But
Yeah,
when he said when they got to selection, it was like time off
yeah, yeah.
because they had
Those
just been
guys.
brutalized.
Yep. Yeah, they had to go through multiple selections just to show up,
Yeah,
doing things
and
like the burpee mile and yeah, man.
but I remember those rumors that, oh, you got to watch out for the X-rays. When in reality it was the opposite. The X-rays had to watch out for the regular Army guys
Yeah,
because and I say this to all the X-rays. Nobody likes X-rays, which is X-rays. You come from a civilian to Green Beret. You don't go to the regular Army. No one likes X-rays except for X-rays.
that's right.
That's it.
That's
And
right.
they think they're somehow less than soldiers
Yep.
until you prove yourself in group.
Which is wild, man, because I have a ton of respect for those dudes. I did not have the balls to do that. I did not have the balls to be like, I want to be one of those guys. Like right now, I want to join to
Yeah.
be one of those guys. I didn't. I was a crane operator, bro. Like, you know, I commend those dudes for the nuts that they have to say, like, I'm gonna go give this a shot right now. I really
Yeah,
do.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it right now.
Yeah.
I my my limiting factor was, remember that dot test at MEPS where you had to read the numbers in all the different colored dots.
Oh yeah, I hate that. Yep.
Yeah, I failed that. So my jobs, I was only open to a couple jobs in the Army on initial enlistment. And the guy said, well, you can go to selection or you can go do all this other stuff later, which turned out to be great because I went to Fort Sill basic AIT station and then I went to selection 90 days later.
No
Whereas if I
way.
would have, whereas if I would have gone in as an X-ray, I would have basic AIT, airborne, and then SOPSI just get brutalized for
Yep.
maybe 6 months, depending on when you get there.
Yeah.
So when I got to selection the second time, some of those guys had been in the Army two, like with some of them med hold, they've been injured and things like that, a year to 2 years, and they're just now going through selection. Whereas I said, oh, well, I just, I had basic training last April.
Yeah,
and,
man.
and here I am, and I'm back at my unit. I'm regular. I have that experience, even though we didn't deploy or anything like that. But I still got my regular Army time.
Heck yeah,
But
man.
yeah, that was good. So I failed that little dot test. That was my limiting factor of why I couldn't go right from civilian to an X-ray. But
No kid. Yeah.
so
Mine was my tiny
so
little heart.
well, like the Grinch, it grew over time. It grew
Right.
5 sizes that day. But so you get through selection.
Yep.
So you're in Kansas at First Infantry Division, right?
Um, I was not under first ID. Dude, honestly, I think it was first engineer brigade or something. I don't remember.
Okay,
I wasn't
but you're
under Big Red One though.
oh, okay. So, but you're at Fort Riley, Kansas, in regular Army unit. So this is the first time I've got to ask this. How was that feeling of getting that slip that says you passed selection and then going back to your unit? And like, how was that feeling getting back there? Because as a private, it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, I bet it was, man. I think, man, that's a good question. I remember people at battalion when I was trying to clear, like really being douchey towards me about it. I don't know if they had
Really?
gone and failed. Yeah, but as far as the company goes, it, I mean, I kind of felt like I was leaving the guys. You know what I mean? Like there was that kind of strange thing because they did have a deployment on the horizon. Like it wasn't anytime soon or anything, but it was coming up, and I felt a little weird that I almost like selfish. You know that I went and did this, and now because I did, now I have to pull away from you guys. We did a lot of work, man. Like, and it was a really good group of dudes. I hope that, maybe from both of us in the same platoon going and being selected, that inspired some dudes to, step up. And whether, it's going to selection or other things, sapper school, ranger school, or I don't know. I just hope that encourages people, like we were around them every day. And, it's not like there's, I don't like some mythical person that goes and does this, like normal people can do it. You just got to put the time into it, prepare.
Yeah, and it is different because the Army, you like build this family with your unit, right?
Yep.
You wake up in the morning and you work out, and
Yep.
then you go shower, and then those same people, you go eat breakfast with those same people, and then you kind of go to the motor pool and hang out, and then all right, we got to go do our job, but still with the same people, and
Yep.
then you go to lunch. And it's still those same people. And then the afternoon you're working. People haven't changed at all. You spend 16 hours a day sometimes
Yeah,
with
man.
these people. And this is 5 days a week. And
Yep.
then on the weekends, depending on where you live, you're partying with those
That's,
same people. And
excuse me. That's
that's
right.
what's crazy. What civilians, I guess, may or may not understand is when you're active duty in a regular Army unit, you are completely segregated from the population of Earth.
Yep.
You are
That's a good way to
not
put it.
part of society. You're in this little bubble that has a fence all the way around it, and you can't get in unless you got a special ID.
Yeah,
And
man.
so you're living with these people, and you become this. They become your family because your family is back home,
Yep.
and you see them maybe at Christmas,
Maybe.
maybe if you're lucky, and so you get tied in with these people and you feel bad for kind of progressing. But if you don't take advantage of going to selection when you can, or reaching for that opportunity or taking the chance, the Army will just suck you in to
That's
your
right.
base and you'll never leave. You'll just stay there, just like a career you hate, and it'll eat you alive. And you'll say, one day you'll be retiring and go, oh, I wish I would have done that. And it's the same as being a civilian. You got to take that opportunity and not get, all right, guys, I love you guys, but I'm doing this for me. I got to go. I got to
Yep.
go. And I hope you guys take some inspiration about what I'm doing, but I'm going to go make some new friends.
Yeah.
Is that pretty much how it was for you?
Absolutely, man. It really was. That platoon of guys that I had, I think they probably got the best and the worst out of me. Like I took my big brown round hat off, put it down, and put on, a normal hat and stepped through that door. So I was, as they say, full of piss and vinegar, man. Like I was on fire. And a lot of those, bad habits I had as a drill sergeant, I brought to the platoon. We'd get new guys, man. I would get after them, dump your bags. Like there's checklists from the company you got to go through or whatnot. Make sure you
Yeah.
got all your CIF. I treated it. I didn't have to do it that way, but I did. And in my mind, and I told the squad leaders and team leaders in my mind, like, hey, we're setting the tone right now. We're going to know if this guy wants to be here with us or if he wants to be down the hall. Whichever he decides is fine. But if he's with us and he can hang for a little bit, then we're going to insulate him, build him up, and encourage him. Just like everybody else. I probably didn't use those words, but yeah, man, we got after it, dude. We really did, and I remember like just seeing the progression of those dudes. We did a big like battalion. I think it was like a battalion like validation exercise.
Hmm.
And the dudes knocked it out of the park, man. Like number one, and I was like, you guys did that. Like, how cool is that? And then they started feeling like they were somebody. Like, hey, we can't do this. Like we know our jobs. I think that was a big thing because in the regular army, there's not a whole lot of opportunities to do your job. And that's one of the things I
No.
brought from me from being on the trail, where all I trained all day, every day. It didn't matter what it was. Like I was training and teaching somebody something. So I was very intentional, and I got to that platoon of bringing that, and I told them like, hey, I heard this one day, and I'm going to tell you, training is everything, and everything's training. If you think about it that way, like, you can teach those dudes anything. Like, we're sitting around,
Hmm.
go pull guns out of the arms room, man. Like, start running some immediate action, remedial action drills with the younger guys. Like, just get their minds going into what we're doing.
Keeps them out of trouble too.
100%, dude, and that allowed them to do their job too, man. Like, if there was nothing going on, be like, all right, dudes, get your I forget what the body armor was at the time, but I was like, get that and get your ruck.
IOTV.
Yeah, yep. Grab your gun. Like, we just go do dismount, clearance, like on the
Hmm.
range roads or whatnot. Just, and we'd go through the our SOPs for, like if we're coming up on an IED or command, whatever it was, like we would go through that, but it was training and not just sitting around. I did not want to waste guys' day just from, well, I'm going to work. Now I'm going to sit around. Like, dudes doing their job is important. It gives them confidence, So when they do go down range, wherever that may be, they have that confidence that they can perform, Whether or not they've been in that situation before, I don't know. But at least they have the confidence. They know roughly what they need to do.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of, so leadership though, right? So you're in that leadership position, you're a platoon sergeant at E7, and you came up through the ranks, and then you saw how that's taught at the beginning, and then you also saw your leadership and you put it all together. So you get
Yep.
to your guys and you can implement it. But sometimes, a guy will come up one unit, he's got a bad E7, a E6 is getting a divorce that hates his life, and then he'll just get taught the wrong way to do things, and then all of a sudden he's in the right place, right time, right uniform for 6, 7, 8 years, and now he's the platoon sergeant, doesn't know what the fuck he's doing,
Yeah, man.
and he's just wrecking guys' lives
Yep.
because the army will do that to you as long as you show up, and you don't get a DUI and you don't, you'll wreck your credit buying a Challenger for 27% interest. You're going to make E7, and then you're going to be in charge of a lot of people. So
Yeah.
it's just interesting to hear, like, you came up this way and you put it all together, and then you made it work, and then you're like, I'm going to go do this really fucking hard thing over here, and I don't know how it's going to turn out.
Right.
What was what was like you said, the decision was, looking back, I've got, this is my last chance to do it. But
Yep.
I mean, what's the why behind, I want to go be a Green Beret?
Yeah, man. So the first time I had ever seen somebody wearing a green beret um, was in Germany. Like, Grafenwehr was the place that people would go to train. We had, the big ranges. I'm sure a lot of the guys Stuttgart went up to do like heavy weapons stuff there. That was the first time I saw him, and I remember the way that they carried himself, and I was like, man, not only does that guy look the part, but he acts the part. Where there's other dudes that are like overweight, like hasn't shaved, and it looks like they got a hangover. Like, there was a distinct difference from just the way that these guys looked and presented themselves from everybody else. And I remember I was like, all right, take note. Fast forward a couple years, and I'm here at Bragg, and I'm seeing guys from third group for sure, but the other groups that were still here. I was like, man, it's the same thing. But the difference that I saw this time, uh, the Green Berets that were around, they were very busy. They were always doing something. They always had an old beat up Humvee they were driving with dudes hanging over the sides with guns everywhere and a trailer full of ammo. And I was like, they're going to shoot, like they're training. But it was always, they looked very professional. They looked like a group of guys that I wanted to be a part of. And
Mm.
that, of course, everybody has rumors and thoughts and have heard myths of, well, this guy went one time and he made it, but nobody else did. But it sparked conversation. Um, and that's when I was like, man, I want to know if I can do it. Um,
Yeah.
I do. I feel like if I didn't go try, that there'd just be a void. But more so, like, I wanted to be a part of a group of guys that were they were true professionals. Like they took what they did for a living as life and death, man, and they were all about being the best at it that they could be. That's the environment that I wanted to be in. And I guess I forgot to say this when I got to Fort Riley. In my mind, the Army had changed, and I don't know if it did or not. I don't know. Like I was a drill sergeant for 2 years, and I came from Fort Bragg. If anything changed, it was probably me. But I do know when I showed up, I was disappointed. I was like, man, this is what soldiers are nowadays. Like, I felt, I wouldn't say a failure, but there was a distinct difference from what I had envisioned. And that just drove me harder. I wanted to be a part of something different where guys wanted to really get after it and be very good at what they did or
I
what
know
they do.
exactly what you mean. See, I didn't have that. So April of 11, I go off, get on the bus, and we fly off to basic training, right? Uh, basic, I said, this is a joke.
Yep.
AIT, this is a bigger joke. And I get to my unit, nothing against those guys. I said, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
I said, this is not what I expected.
Yep.
I want to get out of here. My sergeant, he's like, bro, I agree with you. Just go to the briefing and go off. He only knew me for a couple of days, and he's like, you don't belong here.
No
I was
kidding.
like, and so I went to the briefing. I went to selection 90 days later. I mean, it was always only my unit. I said,
That's awesome.
this is not what I want. I want something else. And I just went and did it. And I hurt myself, whatever, came back, and then went obviously got selected and passed. But I know what you mean. Whatever was in my mind about what the military was not presented
Yeah.
at basic AIT or my first unit. I was, and then maybe that's just what it was at Fort Sill. Maybe that's just what it conveyed or what field artillery was like. Uh, and maybe there was different avenues, but it's not what I signed up for. I said I don't want to do this. I want to go do that. I'm out of here, and I
Yep.
just made it happen. And you got to do that. Otherwise, I would have no doubt in my mind be, I don't know what it was. It was it's 25 now, so I'd be like a first sergeant now, I
Yep.
think, or something like that,
Probably
and
miserable, man.
probably miserable, making people miserable.
That's
But
right.
instead,
Yeah.
I said, no, I'm going to go pick that Mount Everest off in the distance, and we'll go climb that as a E3. As an E3, I got to get out of here.
That's wild, man. You know what it was? Like you had a higher calling. You
Yeah,
saw where
it,
you were. You're a very intelligent person. And I know it's been some years since like you and I have communicated, talked or whatnot, seen each other. But like you're somebody that I talk about often. Like you're an intelligent person, man. Um, you saw where you were. You assessed, the situation, what was going on. And you're like immediately, I don't want to be here. This isn't for me. Like you said, I didn't come here for this. Like I came here to do more.
yeah,
Dude, and the fact that you stepped up and did that as an E3,
yeah.
dude, that's wild. I was just doing push-ups, man, and getting scuffed up when I was E3, like just stupid.
I was I would go to work or go to PT and whatever that was because I was on headquarters and headquarters company HHC or HHB whatever it's called, and we go to PT, but that was always a joke because you're at headquarters and everybody's on profile or something like that.
Yep.
Uh, and then at lunch, no, after work, I would go to the CrossFit gym and just go kill it at CrossFit to
Yep.
get ready to train up for selection. Just training legs, heavy legs. Just as a skinny kid, like I think I went to selection at like 170 pounds or something
Yeah.
like that. I weigh 230 today. I'm not I,
Yep.
but I just remember that because after I signed up to go back the second time, at first sergeant says, yeah, just don't quit. He's like, yeah, go after it. And Sergeant Major pulled me in his office. I think the day before, I was the day before the weekend when I leave, and says, okay, well, give it your best shot, but if you don't make it this time, no more of this messing around. I was like, Roger, Sergeant Major. I walked out of his office. I was like, I hope I never fucking talk to that guy
That's
ever
right.
again.
Yeah, man.
I, yeah. And that's what I thought about all out there. It was 100% all gas, no brakes while I was at selection.
Yep.
Uh, I'm leaving no room for error. Go out in the star exam, I'm finding 4 points. Next
Yep.
night, I'm finding 4 points. You go into the planning for team week, do it just 100%. Leave nothing else because I might never come back,
That's
and
right.
leave nothing to chance. And you so you got to do everything, and that's like with this, right? I like doing this and talking to people, and I'm like, I wish I had my own show. Well, why don't Nick create your own show, and I can get my friends on here and talk to them about all this shit? Because like discourse like this doesn't happen in the team room, right?
Right. Right.
You're not talking about life. You're
You're talking
everybody.
about smashing targets and smashing cheeks and like, hey, let's
Yeah.
make sure we get cold beers in between. Like,
Oh, is that your first time doing that? That's a case of beer.
that's right.
Uh, yeah,
Yep.
make sure the beer fridge is full, and then you're trying not to get kicked off the team. You're trying to figure out how to do a operations order or a risk assessment and all this sort of shit, and you don't
Yeah.
talk about this. And then you go out on the weekends and you get so fucked up
Oh yeah.
that you come in on Monday. You're like, "What did I do?"
Yep.
And you
Yep.
start all over again.
Yep. Oh, hey, how'd you get those bruises and cuts? I don't know, man, but
I,
I mean, what do you want to hear?
I don't know. So, but so we met. Yeah, I don't think we met early in the course, right?
I don't think so, man. Like I can't remember if we were in the Charlie course together or not.
We so um, God, I hate that I can't remember anybody's name. I can
Oh,
see
dude, I'm
everybody's
with you.
face, um, but I went through the Charlie course. I don't think we were in the Charlie course together. I think we met up at Robin Sage, which is the final exercise.
Yeah.
And but what did you think of the Charlie course? Right? What did you think of that?
So, well, I'm gonna have to talk about that other thing because it kind of leads into the Charlie course. If you're cool with that,
Yeah, go for it.
all right. So while at the beginning stages of the qualification course of the Q course, some bad things happen, like in my personal life, and I had to pause basically, and have some things get figured out. When it was time, I had to make a decision, to start training again. And this was a long. It was probably 5, close to 6 months that I had to like stop what I was doing and take care of, this stuff. And I'm keeping it vague like that because I don't want to
Yeah.
bring, you know, names up or whatever. But when I was started training again, the person, the cadre that I had to report to daily, was having an inappropriate relationship with somebody in my family that they shouldn't be. And he made it a point to tell me, especially right before I went to SUT, like, hey, you're wasting your time. All my friends work out there. You're not going to make it. And I was like, challenge accepted, dude. And at that time, he knew that I knew when I stepped on that bus. So fast forward through that, some wild stuff happened there in SUT. Bunch of good dudes got kicked out of the course. It's terrible. But once I got to the Charlie course, I had to recycle. There was, so that stuff was catching up to me again, to the point where there's a lot of studying, right? I'm no
Hmm.
wizard, and I'm certainly not a mathematician. So like for me, it took a lot of focus, to get through all the calculations and all the memorization and all that stuff. And I had to recycle calc in place. And I'm thankful for it, man, because I think it made me a much better Charlie. Because once I was able to start again, once all that other stuff was taken care of, Dude, I had those formulas memorized like it was nobody's business.
Yeah.
But like to answer your question, I think the course it does what it's supposed to do, man. Especially the first time that guys get their hands on explosives and all that stuff, like that's awesome. The
There's
risk,
nothing like it. There's
yeah,
nothing like it.
yeah.
You
Green Beret Arts and Crafts.
this thing that's this big could kill everybody here,
That's right.
and we're gonna play with it, and we're gonna make something
That's
that
right, man.
that can end your life. There's nothing else like it.
It's awesome. It's
It
awesome.
is.
Like the instruction. I can't remember the dude's name, but the NCOIC he taught a lot. Up until I think UXO, and then somebody else stepped in. But
Okay.
the instruction up to UXO was, dude, awesome. I have no complaints, man. Even when that other guy started teaching the unexploded ordnance, I don't think he did a bad job. We were used to somebody delivering very clear, instruction to us, and it seemed like this other guy was a little newer. Like whatever, man. Like we'll give him grace. We know what we got to do. We're here to pass, regardless of what happens. And then the FTX, dude, I thought was one of the best events out of the entire course. Really awesome, well put together,
It was
prepared.
a lot
I
of
felt
fun too.
it
It was a
was,
lot of
dude.
fun.
I really felt prepared going into Robin Sage because of that. I felt
Yeah.
comfortable and competent and confident in my ability to do my job as a special forces engineer for sure.
Yeah, that was the culminating exercise for the Charlie course was a lot of fun. I had a great group of guys on my
Yeah.
team. Everybody knew what they were doing because we'd all gone through the course all together to this point.
Yep.
We had this group of like 20 guys, and I wouldn't say I taught, but I was the class leader for construction at
Yeah.
Range. So that was like, so I had everybody because I did a good job. Like
Yep.
and we built our little house, and whatever the cadre wanted, I got it done, and there was never any problems. So we were a good group of guys, and we all worked really. And then we go to that FTX, and we just killed it.
Yeah,
Like
man.
we just killed the whole thing. And I remember the only time I was nervous the whole course about failing was that 7 minutes of time
Time
fuse.
fuse. Yeah, bro.
And
Yep.
then I think I was 1 second off, and then it popped, and then another guy's popped. He cut 7 minutes by accident, and he had to go the next night. I was like, "Did I pass?" He's like,
Yeah.
"Well, somebody did. Somebody did. Who had 7?" I was like, "I did." Okay,
That
you're
was
good.
me.
That was me. And he's just over there looking at his watch. Fuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, um, yeah, I thought Charlie course was good, but then yeah, we go out, and so we must have come together in Sage and Robin Sage, and we get lumped together.
Yep.
And I remember we
That was
yeah, it
cool.
was even I ran into Mike the other day down in North Carolina. He said I didn't have that picture of us at Robin Sage.
Oh, really?
No, man, I don't have a lot of the memories from being a Green Beret or anything, a lot of the
Yeah.
stuff. So when people send me stuff and I go, "Oh my God, I remember this. I remember this. Now I remember it." I had no memory that that picture existed.
No
So he
kidding.
sent that to me and I was like, "This is great. I remember all these dudes." And then I went through everybody. We didn't have an officer in our Sage lane, did we?
We did. No, no, we did.
Who was it?
Um, we had three. One of
Really?
them. Yep.
Were they just not in the picture?
I have to look, man.
Okay.
One of the times that I moved, I found that picture and I put it up on my fridge. And I told the kids, I was like, "Yeah, man." Like I was talking to my son about it today in the gym. So one of those guys, I think when we were still in planning, one of those captains, he got pulled out and removed
That
because
sounds
like
familiar.
Quizlet stuff, like he was putting
That I
information.
remember that.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
And
Ooh,
then
that's gone. Relief for cause. Yeah.
yep, for sure. And then another. guy. I respect him to this day. I fell out of touch with him, of course, but he went to seventh group. Great guy. And the other one, I'm not sure. I don't remember if he even passed or not. But
Mm.
there was nothing that I thought was spectacular on that other dude. But
Oh, it was your team. You were the team. It was in charge of the whole thing. So
well, that other guy was, remember?
no.
So, well, we all come together, right? Like, so, however long it is, a week or 2 weeks of planning, we're given this mission, and it's the first time really that we're meeting for the most part, but working together like this. So we receive this mission. We go through the whole thing just like ODA does. We planned it. We
Yeah.
had we
Yeah.
had to pitch, the order to what was the a bunch of high-ranking officers.
I
One of
remember
them,
you went up there
right?
and he's like, you're going to brief in French.
Yeah,
And it was the most awkward
dude.
briefing.
I knew like bonjour, like je m'appelle Tom. And I was like, dude, when's this guy gonna let me stop? Like, I don't know why that happened, but it did. Um, but yeah, we got through it, man. Like, we had a great team, dude. We really did. The guys that were there, very impressed with. I grew so much respect for you. Um, and there's like 3 or 4 other guys that like I really leaned on, man. Like anytime you dudes like had something to say, it was like, listen, you know what I mean? And you guys were, there was never a time where I was like, well, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And granted, I wasn't in the leadership role the whole time either, because I think somewhere around the halfway, there was somebody that we collectively as a team, because we did pinks and blues then for
Yeah.
peers, like, performing well, you get a blue. Not performing well, you get a pink. There was a guy that every time we all pinked. Um,
Oh yeah, I was just talking to Mike about that. We can't remember his name. I'm not gonna. Even if I
yeah,
could
no, no,
remember his
no.
name, I'm not gonna say it. But I remember him affectionately as Bundle.
Bundle, that's right. Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
and yeah, he just ate all the pinks, and
He took over.
but
I was replaced with him. I think
yeah,
it was like some type of. I don't know if it was to teach us a lesson or something, but
he was an E4 X-ray, and yeah, that's what the cadre did. They put him in charge because he wanted the team to rally around him and to figure it out. I,
it's
I
a
don't know,
technique.
whatever.
Yep,
It is a technique. But one of my favorite stories, and I tell it so poorly because I'm so bad at telling stories, but my favorite thing I tell people from the course is how I like grow on people, my personality in the team room and stuff, and how I go on people. Because when we did the first set of peers, you gave me a negative count, a peer. You gave me a pink slip,
I
and you
did.
told me you did, and you said
What'd
I
I
wasn't
say?
taking it serious. You said I wasn't taking it seriously, and I laughed at you. And I said, "You just wait. You're gonna wait. You're gonna be glad I was here later."
Really?
And then 2 weeks later at Piers, you gave me a blue and said, "Man, if you wouldn't have been here, this would have fucking sucked."
No way, man. See, I don't remember that. I remember like leaning on you heavily. I remember like
Yeah,
everything demo and engineer wise,
no,
logistics.
because they
Like,
had they had us do a pier in isolation, and I'm just
oh,
like I'm just fucking not taking it seriously because there's nothing to take serious yet. We're
you're
not
right.
fucking doing anything. We're in isolation. And I was not taking it seriously at all.
Yeah,
And you're like, and I'm like, and I told everybody, I was like, this, it's not going to matter until we're out there. We're here to pass and work together. And then I was friends with everybody on that team already,
yeah.
and you had came in and you didn't know any of us, and I'm being me, this totally off the wall guy.
I
I'm
wasn't
fucking
having it.
crazy, and you weren't having it. And then after a couple weeks, you're like, okay, I get it now. Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
that's wild, man. I don't remember
So,
that at all.
oh, I do. I remember, but that part, yeah. But some of it's gone. I do remember everyone when I talk to people about Rob and Sage, and I talked about exercises in the Army and stuff and cool schools. Everybody had this really fun experience. And they're like, well, how was yours, Nick? And I went, well, at Robin Sage, I got my go the first day in the field, and then I didn't leave the our G base after that. Like, what
Really?
do you mean? Yeah, I went out on the first mission when we
I
bought
don't think
those.
I did either.
You didn't either. We were there. I built that house, or built the addition on the house. I built the shitter. I built a
Yep.
pen for the pig, and I
Yep.
didn't go back out. I didn't leave again. So everybody had all these fun stories about Robin Sage, and they went out and they're shooting up the local police and all this
Yep.
other shit. And I'm out there like with my handsaw, like, oh, you could shit in this hole. This will be really nice to shit in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this will fit.
So everybody had the fun time, and I was just like, no, I got my go right away. And the cadre's like, no, you're done. I need these
Yeah.
other guys to go out.
I thought I was the only one that was in that boat, man.
No, no, I went out. I remembered I went out with TK and somebody else, and that was it for me. Everybody else went out and did missions, and I didn't go anywhere.
Yep. Yep.
But
You're
you
right,
were
bud.
he met you, talked to you, and just like, oh yeah, you're good. You're going
The
to the teams.
cadre guy.
Yeah, you're going to
Yeah.
the teams.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Upon retiring last this past fall, I went out and worked for Elaine as a contractor, as a civilian.
Yeah,
Um, and of course, it's the same exercise, but seeing this side of it, dude, that lane that I was a part of did a phenomenal job. Like, you want to
really.
talk about some professionals, like taking it so serious to make sure that those students got like the best experience they could. Like, they knocked it out of the park, man. I was thoroughly impressed. And I told them at the end of the class, they allowed us the opportunity to speak to the students. And I told them straight out, I was like, hey, man, what you guys just did, what these people just did for you, like, remember it, because they
Hmm.
gave it their all, dude. Like, they're getting you ready to go wherever you're going to go, like, in the world, and be successful. Like, don't forget these lessons you learned. Like, the hard ones, the whatever, remember them, dude, and apply it. You are so lucky. I'm certain that not everyone's experience is the same as what that team had.
I so I just got back from North Carolina in October and November, right? And a lot of the people that was working for the company I was working for were role players in
Yeah, a lot
Pineland,
of
right?
people. Yeah.
And those people are fucking committed to the
Oh yeah.
Pineland life. They've got Pineland license plates on their car. They wear the t-shirts. Nothing wrong with that. They're just living in Appalachia, or not Atlantic. What is it called? Anyway, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. uh, they're living in that life for a good portion of the year, and they take it very seriously.
That's right.
They they have pride in that, and they want to get asked back. So
Yep.
that doesn't surprise me that the backside support is fantastic, because I don't think I've heard that the company that runs things is a little shaky, but the actual role players and how they put the scenario out and things, the people are
Incredible.
very committed.
Yeah, dude.
Now, another story I did hear though from role players, because I told a group of guys about my lane, and they go, "Oh, I'm not really sure about that one." And I go, "Well, how many lanes have you done?" And one guy said, in the teens or something like that, and the other guy, they're all different spots. And I said, "Well, how bad do they get sometimes?" And the one guy said, "We've relieved a whole team before. They've
Wow.
they've they stopped Sage." They've stopped Sage right in the middle and fired and I don't know if it was dropped everybody, but definitely recycled some of them or fired.
No kid. There must
Uh,
have been something catastrophic, dude. Like,
oh yeah,
you know,
and then
wow.
they've had some where they fired all the officers.
Yep.
They said there were absolute disasters out there. And I said, wow, that's crazy, because I didn't see that anything like that. But you only see one lane. You only
That's
see
right.
this little part, and from running selection that or training or anything in life, right? All you see is your little part that you got
Yes.
to do. That
Yeah.
and you don't realize that it's all part of the system until you run the show.
That's right.
Like just doing this. this is the fun part. We're here talking, right? But to get people on the show and then to do social media and then to edit the shit and put it all out there, fucking blows. I don't know what the
Brutal.
fuck I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm in here on AI going, how do I post this to Apple Podcasts? Oh,
Right.
okay. Okay, you spelled Apple wrong. Okay, back.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's, I don't know. I'm happy we had a good Robin Sage experience, but it really, it's that pinnacle but it's different for you. You're already at E7. See, I graduate, I get my Green Beret, and I'm back to a private again. I'm a sergeant, but I'm back to a private going to a team. Was it different for you going to a team as an E7? Did you get a little more respect, or were you still the fucking new guy?
Uh, no, I was certainly the new guy. Like, so I went straight to a free fall team. Like that's known for like pipe hitters that earned their place on that team, right? I think the company sergeant major probably put me there. One, because they were losing the only Charlie. He's a phenomenal dude, man. I love that guy. But two, I think he probably part of the reason was because of my rank. And knowing like what I'd done prior to that time, like the drill sergeant thing, like the leadership roles that I've held, like the Pathfinder, all that other stuff. I think it all played into him putting me on that team of like very seasoned, uh, like combat tools. These
Mm-hmm.
are dudes like I'm talking like 5, 6, 7, 8 deployments. The 6 months off, six back to back to back, like, and loved it. Like you want to talk
Yeah.
about some proficient warfighters, dude? Like that was them. Um,
Killers. Just
one
fucking
hundred percent, dude.
tough men.
Yes,
And
that
they
knew
just,
their job and did not need to be told. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like just click and just work and knew what they were supposed to do. They knew what you were doing. They knew what you were like. It was just a well-oiled machine, dude.
Mm-hmm.
That ironically was called the Death Machine. Like that's what the team. It was dubbed the Death Machine. Yeah, right. Um, but yeah, still the new guy, dude. I maybe things would have been different if I had gone to a different team. I'm not sure, but new guy rules still applied, man. The guy that I was replacing, he was very professional, dude. He was one of those guys that like I saw way back when. He looked the part, he acted the part, like he spoke very direct. There was no confusion about what he was saying or doing, and he told me like, "Look, I get it. You're an E7. I'm an E7. Our team sergeant's an E8, and then we have a captain." He's like, "You will treat him just like he's any other E8. You will treat him just like he's any other captain in the United States Army. And then every other senior on this team, like you treat them with respect, like earn your spot."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, dude, yes, like I agree with you on every level. Like I think I, as a person, would be so wrong, to just walk in that door and be like, hey, I'm one of you. Like, because that
Yeah.
is not the case, bro. Like,
No.
yes, I have experience with things and I have experience with things in the Army. However, when it comes to being a senior engineer on a free fall ODA, I have zero experience. So, like, teach me, man. I want to, like, truly replace you. This dude's a legend that I'm coming in behind. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
want to be like you. Whatever that takes, like, I'm a sponge, dude. Um, and it was that weird time, like Afghanistan for third group was really drawing down. There was a lot of saltiness. A couple trips prior, the team sergeant was killed. So there was some saltiness going around.
Yeah.
So I do believe I was treated a little differently than some of the other new guys, but I was still the new guy, 100%, man.
That's that's good. I mean, we're supposed to be the best at the little things, right? And
Yep,
discipline is one of the little things. And
yep.
if you can be good at that, you can be really good at everything else.
Yep, that's very true, man.
And
That
if
all
you got a
starts
team,
there.
yeah, if you've got a good team sergeant that instills that, I also think because you're at third group, you're back at Fort Bragg, right?
Yep.
Center of the world for Green Berets. Uh, my experience, which is very minimal, uh, different groups have different attitudes,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and the farther you get from Fort Bragg, it's I wouldn't say it's not as it's not as standard attention
Makes sense.
than that it is at Bragg. I mean, so there are different teams and different apps, but I think, the farther you get, so let's say, Okinawa or first group out in Washington or Germany, you're pretty far away from the flagpole. And it's a
Right.
different attitude. Whereas I think you guys are pretty serious, seventh group, a little fifth group, pretty serious. And then, but that's just my opinion. I could be totally wrong, but I also, am jaded from my time in group. Like I went to a bad team. I had a bad team sergeant
Ugh.
and a brand new captain. And I'll say that openly till the day I die.
Yep.
I got my career is over. So, because some bad decisions, but
Man.
uh, it's whatever. And then everybody's like, "Oh, I'm sorry that happened." Well, it does happen. Guys get hurt in training and shit like that. But I do like to hear when people go to a with good leaders, and you have good leaders teaching the next generation how to do things, and that's really that's how it's supposed to be, right?
Yep. Yep.
Uh,
I firmly believe it.
and it's like I try to tell myself, like, Nick, you got to do this because yeah, there's a lot of other veterans out there doing their thing or whatever, but that's only a few of them out of the millions of veterans. You got to stand out. You got to go out there and speak to people and tell them how it was and what life is like, and that they need to take care of their mental health. They need to get their drinking
Hit
under
them with the
control. They
truth,
need
man.
to, yeah, and just be like, I've had my problems. I've let my life get ruined by some things, and you gotta, it's okay. We can pull back from that. But
Bro, you
like I
are.
said earlier, those are things you talk about in the team room. In the team room, you're on business all the time.
That's right.
And if you bring up something like that, it's like, you're gay. Not that there's
Yeah.
anything wrong with being gay, but that's what you'll be called. Um,
100%.
and you're not taken care of. And these are the best, some of the best soldiers in the military at
Yep.
these units, right?
Yep.
But they're sacrificing their mental health, their physical health, uh, their well-being just to get the job done
That's right.
at any cost.
That's right.
Did you see that with guys on the team? Just I've
Oh,
got to get
dude.
this done.
Yeah, man. Like, yeah, like you are so right. Physically, our medics are awesome. Like, I love our medics. Whatever's like, I broke ankles and whatever, got cuts. The medics would always take care of it. Whether we're home or deployed, right? Like,
Yeah,
um, we rely on them. I think that we rely on them so much that we're not really taking care of ourselves, right? Because when it's time to get out of the army, man, I don't have all kinds of stuff documented. Why? Because I didn't take the time to invest in myself or to take care of myself that I should have taken. Like,
yeah,
I did the fastest fix that I could to get back out on the range, or to get on that bird, whatever it was, dude. And there's so many guys that do it. And then, we age. It seems like everything comes to a head almost all at the same time. Like, instead of it just being my knee now, it's my back, my neck. Hey, man, I'm getting these horrible headaches. I'm not sleeping. Like, it's a snowball effect, dude.
yeah,
Uh, that everybody is just trying to keep going. It's one of the traits, that I don't I think that we're born with, right? Like, the drive to keep going. When a lot of other people are like, all right, that's it. That's as far as I'm comfortable with going. Like, no, our guys keep going, and then they keep
yeah,
going. Like, I ran 9 miles on a completely broken leg in air assault school. Why? Because it was the last thing I had to do to graduate. Like, everybody that we've worked with is the same way, and Sooner or later it catches up to us, dude.
Yeah, you just have tough, tough individuals in the hallway, all competing with each other. They're not in competition, but they
Yeah,
subconsciously or consciously are competing with one another in this small hallway where they're sequestered and they don't have any contact, but they're all in competition, right? And it's this like operator attitude in the
yep,
hallway. Everybody's for some reason got an attitude with one another, which is fine. Our primary goal at that time was to fucking kill people, right?
yeah,
That's not something I ever took part in. I didn't deploy. I didn't do any of that stuff. But the training and the things that we did to get ready to deploy were to fucking kill people. And that's you've got that attitude on people, and then you introduce alcohol into it and all kinds of shit and
oh,
everything.
dude, I can speak to this stuff for days. Like when you sit, that's what we were trained to do, right? Regardless if if guys went forward and did it or not, that's what we were trained to do. With the exception of being forward and killing terrorists and all that stuff, right? Like training is really the same thing. You think about it, in my opinion, this is the way I look at it. So when there's like stressful events, our body responds. We have a physiological response, right? Um, One way or another. Like it comes out in people in different ways. Um, so if you're put day after day in the environment where you're stressed out, like your whole focus is to win, is to dominate. It's violence of action, right? Like you're going through that same physiological event, like in your body, as you are when you're there. Of course, it's a little different or whatnot, but your brain doesn't know the difference. You
No.
know, you know what I mean? That's the way I look at it. So
And
like,
then some people, guys get addicted to that shit.
dude, 100%,
And then
100%.
everybody that I've talked to now, and all of my friends, everybody I've said this, it's never enough, right? It's never enough to the point of bigger, stronger, faster, hitting the objective, training, even partying, right? It's
Yeah,
never ever enough. You can never go hard enough. You can never do this well enough, and like that leads to there's other units where you can go off and do that and
right.
do that. Um, and some guys go do that, but that's a whole nother level of commitment.
Yep.
But yeah, it's interesting the dynamic in the company, right? And I didn't know any. I learned about a team when I was on the team, and you got your little piece of the pile. And then I got hurt, and I go to the B team, and you don't really learn anything until you like go to the B team and you learn how all the teams work and what they're
Yeah.
doing, because you're just on a team and you don't talk to the other teams at all.
Super
You don't.
isolated.
You're
Yeah.
just isolated. You don't train with them really either.
Right.
Um, but then you go to the B team and they see what everybody's doing, and then you go to battalion and then you see everything's fucked up all the time. But but it's so let's see. So you got to third group in 2000 what 15? Like I no, you would have got there in 14 at the end of 14
I
because it was
think,
just
yeah, I think it was
interpost,
14. Yeah.
and then there would have been holiday block leave, and then kind of starts. But so how was that? You get to a team, and what was they're because everybody's standoffish because they don't trust you,
Yep.
and they want to see if they can trust you, if you're gonna fit into the team, because if you don't, you'll just find your shit in the hallway, and you'll
Oh,
have to go up to the B
100%,
team
dude.
real
Yep.
quick.
Yep.
Um,
Those are the good old days. So third group finally moved to like normal buildings. Like when I showed up, we were in the old buildings, which, dude, they were garbage, man. Like,
yeah,
it was one room that every team had to build a floor so you can have an upstairs. And we
yeah.
called it, the cages or the dungeons was downstairs, and every MOS had their cage. Dude, there's I beams that like guys would knock themselves out on. Like it blew my mind that this is where the special forces team rooms are. I couldn't believe it. Um, but those are the
That's
days, like guys
it's
are walking.
eerily. That sounds like our team rooms before the new buildings got done.
Right. Yep.
So yeah. Yeah, you kind of make whatever work.
Yeah, everyone was happy though. We didn't know any different,
No,
I got there. The team was forward. They were finishing up that last Afghan rotation. Um, got back, or they got back. The first time I met them is at Green Ramp, when they got off the birds, and met their families and all that stuff. Went back to the company and inventoried all the equipment that they took forward, and just got in the mix from there. It was heavy turnover on the team at that point. Like them all being like seasoned dudes, they were on 3-4 for a long time. A lot of them for a very long, like years.
well then the Swick roster comes and everybody's gone.
Yep. Well, and the rumor mill was going around like Afghanistan's over. So guys really they started finding their own, their different places to go. We got quite a few new guys, like myself included. Um, we just started getting after it, man. Like, I think everybody meshed really well. We still had a core group of, those super seasoned war fighters, that they were the driving force of the team, man. Like every team kind of has their underground. You have your team sergeant, your captain, your
Yeah,
warrant. They give guidance and all that stuff, but like the team's really being led over here. We certainly had that. Um, and I think it was a good thing, man. Like I know at that point, I started drinking a lot more, because I was like, oh, we're done training. Like there's beers. Like let's get after it. Um,
yeah,
and that's I was already like drinking a lot, but that just almost really showed me that it was okay. Like there's nothing. This is just normal day to day business, man. Um, but that's one thing that stuck out. I guess when I kind of noticed that things were getting a little wrong,
yeah.
or looking in hindsight. Yeah, we went forward the first time that third group went to Africa. I was on that. Um, it was a really good group of dudes, man. And we got to have fun and spend a lot of time together. Like jumping is a good time, especially back in those days. They'd let us go out to Arizona for a week or two and just be together. We'd go jump all day, and we party at night. Like it was great.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It's crazy. Uh, I guess this feeds into team guys will get it done no matter what, and also in any condition. I think
yeah,
that's like for operators. I mean, I haven't talked to any of the other jobs or anything like that, but like will they'll train all day and then they'll party all night
yep.
and just do it again
Rinse and repeat.
in perpetuity.
That's
And
right.
like this little band, right? It tracks your recovery.
Yeah,
And I stopped drinking a year ago, but my wife, I got her one too. And if she has one glass of wine, you can see it that in the graph in the recovery.
really.
Just one glass of wine. And so I can't imagine like
Oh,
when we're out, your PT and you come back and you haven't had drinks for a few days and you're hydrated and everything and you're just running on all cylinders. And then we go on a bender and then we get up and we're going like this. I
yeah.
can't imagine the stress that we were putting on our bodies and
Oh, dude.
just because when I went through selection, Major Decker goes out there and he says, Gentlemen, your mind will give up long before your body."
Mm,
And the whole course, right? The whole thing, going through the course and getting to a team, and you're just building on those steps, right? You're just making and you're just strengthening your mind, or you're supplementing with alcohol or substances because you don't want to deal with it and you're
yeah,
just
man.
putting it off. But you're making your mind stronger than your body is. And eventually like you can't keep that up
Yep.
forever. And some guys find it out too late. Guy get depressed. I mean, it fucking blows my mind. I look at the SF page, and guess every once in a while, some guys off themselves.
Oh
They
yeah,
can't deal with it. Um, yeah, it's
dude,
tough.
it is, man. I think about that a lot. Like I've had a
You know,
rough one.
you just or just not to. I get it. Guys will just go, I'm tired,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they're just tired, and they just see this way out, and they go that direction. They drink themselves off, and they ruin their career or whatever. But they're just you get to a point, and you're just tired,
yeah, dude.
and it's just you just can't. That's it. Once your mind can't take it anymore, and your body is just says it's over, and then you're just tired. And I get it. I feel bad for the families and all that. But what were you going to say?
Well, you're absolutely right, man. Like, um, I really want to speak to this in a little bit. 'Cause I
Yeah.
definitely have gone through it as well, but I think it's very unfortunate and it's not right. Like the amount of time, if we're just looking at resources here, like resources alone, and I'm not being cold or anything, but we look at you and I, right? The amount of time, the amount of money, like all of the ammo, like whatever has been invested in us.
Hmm.
Like you think that you'd want to keep us going as long as possible, right? Um, I think the Army does a terrible job. They tell you, hey, families come first. Like, we're
Yeah.
all about families. Or they'll say, like, hey, mental health is so important. It's so important, in fact, we have a mental health month. Like, get out
Yeah.
of here, dude. Nobody has time for it. Nobody wants to hear it. We're going to call you a pussy, kick you out in the hall, find somebody that'll keep doing it. Like, hey, you've
Yeah.
got a boo boo, you're having a bad day, drink this bottle and shut up. Like that's what happens, man. And like
Yeah.
years and years of that, bro, like it's bad. And it's a known thing. It's no secret, like at all. That's how everybody, I don't care who you are, you're doing it or you used to do it. Or you're seeing somebody do it right now. And dude, I just wish that things would be handled different. Is every time we come back from a trip, from a deployment, right? Like, here's the mandatory however many days you got to sit through these stupid classes. And that's how it's put, these stupid classes. Make
Yeah.
sure everybody signs in because that's what's important. Where the material should be important. Like, hey, man, you just saw some horrible stuff. Like, you need you really need to process and deal with this so it doesn't come out later. Like your wife and your kids matter enough that you need to take time to deal with this, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying everybody needs to get in but something needs to be done, and it needs to be like, hey, drinking this isn't the answer, you know.
No, crawling into a bottle and staying there is not the answer. It goes back to when I was private, you know, staff sergeant, whatever, said if the Army wanted you to have a family, it would have issued it to you.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's what how the no matter what they say, no matter what anybody in the leadership, because the soldier, the person cares about you, right? The soldier that's your leader, the person cares about you, but the position doesn't.
that's
The,
right.
the position only wants private so and so or specialist so and so to do their job. They don't care about your feelings on anything or how it affects your personal life or anything like that. And in SF, we are a product of we're a failure of our own success, I think is how we say it. We continue to succeed even though we shouldn't, right?
Yeah.
We will always
Oh
get it
yeah.
done. And no matter what, we will just destroy our family, our
Oh yeah.
friendships, our personal life, just to keep the team going in the same direction.
That's right.
And we'll just do it no matter what.
You're so right, dude.
And
You're so right. Like, and for me personally, like that job became my identity, my complete identity, and I didn't even know that it was happening. Like I wasn't aware of this at all. I was just doing my job. But my
Yeah.
job included 24/7, 365. Like when I'm not at work, when I'm not in the team room, when I'm not in the field, when it's truly off time, I'm with the same guys,
Yeah.
probably doing the
Even
same
more
thing.
so, even
It,
more
it,
so, because now it's just E6s, 7 and 8, and you're all together.
that's
Whereas you could have a platoon and you hang out with a certain amount of guys one day, and no, you got the same 10 guys minus the
yeah,
warrant and the captain, because whatever, they don't want to, get in
they're
trouble or
weird.
something.
Yeah,
But yeah, and they switch out more anyway. But you got the
yeah,
same 10 guys, and you're hanging out with them every fucking day.
yeah. Every day. Yeah, dude.
Every day.
Yep. And yeah, dude, man, you're so right, and that's good, but there has to be a balance, and
I
especially
think, well, the Army doesn't, like I said, the Army doesn't give a shit. But I think Delta, from what I've heard, I think Delta, like the, operational
yeah,
attachment Delta or whatever, because you're not, and this is, they don't play the, oh, you got to do this training, you got to do that. Oh, okay. They've got this. We want to keep this tier one operator running at 100% all the time,
that's
and they
right.
don't have to play by the Army's rules. That's what I think happens, because they have to, because that's just a
Yep,
whole nother level of stress
yep,
that you need all to be running on all cylinders all the time. And I
yeah.
think
Got to be
that
high
is the
functioning.
only way that you can get around that stuff, is because, oh, I don't need my AT level 1 training. I don't need my SEER 100 training done. Oh, I no, we have to have a suicide awareness stand down on post. You know what happened
Yeah,
last time I went to a suicide stand down awareness or whatever it was? Somebody fucking killed themselves
yeah,
right away after that shit. It's like astounded. Like, oh, that's helping.
right.
But
Exactly.
but but I say all that stuff. We signed the paper. We signed
We
up.
did.
We raised our right hand. We said, "I will faithfully, and I forget the rest, execute the Constitution and blah 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 blah."
I don't
You know,
remember any of it,
we
bro.
we signed up. We said we would do it, and that's it.
Yep, that's right,
That's
man.
the job. That's the job. And whenever I hear other people bitch about it, I go, that's the job too. Can things
Yep,
be changed? Probably, but the only thing the United States military is good at is fucking killing people. And
that's
whether
right.
that's bad guys or its own soldiers, they're gonna do it.
Yep, yep.
And
We can do
so,
math. We can add and subtract here to see who's winning. Um,
yeah.
dude, I
So,
think the root of it, man, like we have to do a better job of taking care of each other. Like if
mm,
everybody did that, I I think we'd be in a lot better shape. I think the force would be stronger. I think the force would be healthier. And I would like to think that, some of these the real severe cases, maybe they wouldn't happen as often. I would like to think that, because like you and I, like now, we would, be in charge of stuff. Um,
yeah,
you've been out for a while, like no doubt you would, right? And like
yeah,
I think the knowing the kind of person you are, I couldn't see you just looking past something like that. Somebody struggling. I know that you would take the time, to address it, to talk to them about it. But then your hands are tied. I've done that for some guys, but you can only take it so far, and then they have to be a willing participant, to either
that,
enroll, get help, whatever, unless some certain criteria happens, right? And
yeah.
that's usually um, they're in the act or have the intent to kill themselves, something like that. But I think just we as a whole, is true, like we need to be accountable for each other, man. Like,
We do. And then, like, the flip side of that, the thing I learned from, uh, quitting drinking is nobody will do anything unless they want to or have to.
facts.
They won't. It won't. They will drink themselves to death, and they won't stop just because they don't want to.
That's right.
And so it doesn't. That you're up against that, and or you just don't want to deal with it. You just want to deal with it later. And I get that too. It's their life. Um, but really, when I don't know. Have you had any of your buddies commit suicide?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
it's it's pretty bad. It's
It is.
pretty awful. I mean, and and I'm not saying just if you're in the military or whatever in civilian world. It's like, and I described it as, uh, you're not just because, okay, this person's all their suffering, right, and now they've killed themselves. They didn't spread it out evenly among all of their friends and family. They took
You're
that
right.
same amount of suffering and gave it to each and every one of their friends.
Man, you're
That's
right.
what that's what I when I really thought about it, when my friend died, I thought he didn't spread it out. He took the same amount and gave it to everyone he knew.
Yeah,
And
that's very true.
that's what it is. And nobody thinks about that. Or nobody talks about this stuff either because they're afraid to talk about it. They don't want to talk about it. It's hard. One of my best friends killed himself July 6th of 2023, and it
I'm sorry.
fucking killed me. Fucking
I'm
killed me.
sorry.
And then nobody guys won't talk about it. Like, I'll talk about it. It was really terrible. It's ruined 4th of July for me now, which
For
kind of
sure.
sucks. But it's terrible. But you don't realize you're not just taking. I know you're tired. I know you're tired. But you're not just taking your pain and like dispersing it into the universe. You're you're exponentially growing it
Yeah. Oh
because
yeah.
nobody ever gets over it. I don't know if that's what you feel when that's you've come across that.
No, man, yeah, you're so right. I never heard it put like that. Like it's not being spread out. Like here's what I have. Now I'm putting it on you.
Now it's your
You're
fucking problem.
yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. You know, like I remember way back when, dude, there was had a guy on my team that he was going through a rough time. Very good friend was killed on a trip, right there with them. Some other stuff happened, but there was a lot of trauma there, right? And it comes up. I
Hmm.
don't know why, but that stuff comes up, like in all of us. And it had come up for him, and he was really struggling. He was kind of newer to the team, and I wouldn't say like he was fully brought in. Like we didn't know him enough. I didn't know him well enough to be able to pinpoint like this is what's going on. Um, but I have a ton of respect for him, man. He went to our team sergeant at the time and told him like, hey, this is what's going on. Like something's not right. I need to get this fixed. Tons of respect for him doing that, like on his own. Like I really respect him for that. But once he, was out of the team room, team sergeant brought us all together and basically started trashing on him about it. Dude, I was mortified. Um, and I at that time, like, a lot of stuff has happened up to this point.
Yeah.
But I wasn't yet to the point where I knew that I needed help, right? Like I was at the point where I knew things weren't right. Um, I knew they couldn't go on forever. It just wasn't my time to deal with it. That's kind of where
Yeah.
my mind was. But once I heard how this man that's supposed to be leading us, how he just slandered one of our brothers
Yeah.
for what he did, what he had to do, and how it was affecting him. Dude, I was mortified. I was like, that's it. I will never, never. I called, going to the site, like going to see the wizard. I was like, I will never go see the wizard. No
Yeah.
one will say that about me ever. I'll just suck it up. Um,
And it only takes one
that's right.
instance of that. You can
That's
have
right, dude.
a hundred instances where the person was supportive, or your leader was supportive, or your
Yep.
teammate or everybody was there for you. But it only takes one instance of a bad leader saying something, and I will never speak to that person again, or
That's right, dude.
I will never seek that help because
Yep.
you don't know, because that person that you're talking about doesn't know that he talked about him like that. He may
No.
now, but he didn't know he was going to talk about him like that. So
No,
yeah,
man. Yeah.
yeah, it only takes that one instance to ruin ruin a soldier. And I was going to say, yeah, you find out how good of a leader somebody is when one of your soldiers comes to you with a problem and you need to fix it,
That's
and
fact.
then you shit all over them. You're just terrible. Get the fuck out. You shouldn't be in that position to lead
That's a
soldiers,
fact.
lead and mentor soldiers.
That's right,
You
man.
should you shouldn't be there. But that's not the way the army works.
No,
So
no, it's not. That's unfortunate, dude.
yeah, but I guess I'm not going to rag on the army the whole time. Like I said, the fucking army doesn't give a fuck about you. The people might, but the people are also influenced by the job that they have to get done. They
That,
have like there's somebody telling somebody telling somebody telling somebody else what to do, and you got to get the
yep.
job done. And that's how. Yeah, that's how. Yeah, whatever. I
It's a
don't know,
vicious
man.
cycle. Vicious cycle, man.
Um, good. Generally, a good experience on the team. How long were you on the team before you, I guess, went to back to Swick? So back to the schoolhouse. How long were you on the team?
Man, so not as long as I would have liked. We were deployed. Um, it was the second trip that I had while I was on the team, and our battalion command team, the CSM and the colonel flew in. We had organic air assets, which was pretty nice. But they flew in and then got weathered in, so they stayed for a couple extra days. And one evening, the CSM, the command sergeant major, came up and he's like, "Hey, Tom," because I'm still E7, dude. Like, I was promoted, I think in 2012,
Okay.
11 or 12, um, and of course, he knows that, right? And he's like, "Hey, what's your plan?" And I was like, what do you mean?" He's like, "What's your plan for progression?" I was like, "Man, I'm staying on this team until the day I have to, like, I'm done with the army." And he's like, "Yeah, yeah, but for real, what's your plan?" And I was like, "CSM, I'm
It's
not kidding. Like, I'm not lying to you one bit. I'm not leaving. Like, tell me what I have to do and I'll stay." He's like, "Well, yeah, that's not happening. You've been a sergeant first class for too long. We need you to get promoted.
yeah.
You need to," or the way he put it to me is like, "I'll let you decide where you go, or it's going to be decided for you." And I was like, "Dude, come on, man. Like, I'm in the middle of the desert or whatever with my friends, like, getting after it. Like, don't ruin my fun right now, man." Um, so, like, dude, I think it was close to 4 years,
Yeah.
but I was on the next thing smoking for the Swick levy.
Really.
Um,
That's.
yeah,
I mean, from my time at battalion, when that levy comes out, like it don't matter what anybody's path is. You got to fill those slots. You have to fill
you
that
have to.
roster, and it doesn't matter where you think the guys are going. Sergeant Major comes out. Okay, here's the list. These guys are going. That's it.
Yep.
And when you're on a team, like I said, you're focused on that team. You want to keep your family together, and it doesn't work like that when that levy
Such
comes
a
out.
kick in the balls to, like, like, one, to be told that you've got to get on, or that you're on that levy, and two, to actually see paperwork, like, with your name and a report date. Like, such a kick in the balls, which it shouldn't be. But that, I think, to what you're saying, we're so tight and we want so badly to stay there, to remain, to be successful, to make the team successful, that, like,
Yeah,
something really, it's a progression, man. Like, this is the way things go. Like, I need to pull you here to put you here to prepare the next generation. Like, that should be a privilege, you know what I mean? It should be an honor, but we look at it as like, dude, getting your puppy kicked in the face, like.
well, it's a more uh, it's just a more advanced version of you leaving Fort Riley, right? Leaving your squad.
Yep.
But now you're more entrenched with this tighter group. And
Oh yeah.
think I think guys get on a team and they get comfortable on that team and they don't want to leave. They don't want to
ever.
progress. They don't want to go to schools. They just want to stay on that team. Whatever they can do to stay on that team and not go anywhere. And I
Yep.
think a lot of guys get in this circle of okay, and they forget why they became a Green Beret one. Some of them, not all of them, they forget why they got there, and they forget that they need to keep that trajectory going.
That's
Where
right.
they're just
And
like everybody else, they're just at a higher level.
very true, dude. Very true.
Yeah. And
Yep.
everybody gets stuck in that. Everybody's like, you get to this job and you're comfortable. Comfortable is the fucking worst.
Yep.
You're
You're right.
comfortable at your job. Oh,
You get
I don't want to,
complacent.
you get complacent and you're like, and then you just don't live up to your potential. That's what I'm afraid of, right? I'm afraid of not like being the best, being
Yep.
living up to my potential. Because I said last week to the guy, I said that's going to be real torture when you're too old to do it, and you look back and say, "Oh, I wish I would have done that." That's going to be
Yeah.
real torture when all you have is time to think about the things you didn't fucking do.
Yeah, man.
And guys will get in that way at group, and they'll just be comfortable. They got 16, 17 years. Oh, I got 3 more years left. I'm going to ride it out. No, fucking
Get
go
out
for
there
it.
and
If your
get
body
after it.
can do it, do
That's
it.
right.
But I'm not in that position, so I can't tell people what to do. But to just have that attitude we had when we went to selection, to keep
To
that,
keep it, to keep
yeah,
earning the right to be there every day. Like, you
yeah.
remember that?
You earn your
Earn the
Green
right
Beret
to
every
be here.
day. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. When I was over in Second Battalion, what the HHC first sergeant, he went to Ranger School, and they had this little promo of him. He's like fucking 41 or 42. He's, I mean, sergeant. I think he's sergeant major now, but he went to Ranger School and fucking killed it. I
I
mean,
respect.
badass mustache. I mean, I'm sure the mustache got a Ranger tab itself. But that's what you want to see your team sergeant doing, right?
That's
Okay,
right.
we got this. Now the guys on the junior guys should go to Ranger School first. But if there's an open slot, yeah, go show the
Yeah,
guys
dude.
that they still need to live up to that and to live up to doing like when we got to selection. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting a little fired up, but
Nah,
I
dude.
get
I,
that
I,
way.
I, I
So
think you're right, man. I really do. I think you're right. Um, having to leave that team, it affected me in such a bad way, dude. Like, it kind of really surprised me on how much it did affect me. I had lined everything up to go work at Robin Sage, like, made the emails, made the phone calls, did the interviews. When it was time to report, I go, and the CSM out there, a fifth group legend, um, he said, "No, I need you over at SFAS." That was the last place I wanted to go, dude. I was like, only turds go there. Like, well, no, I don't want any part of that. Like, I wanted Sage because I was like, man, I'm going to stay relevant on planning. At least I'll be good at planning. I'll keep working logistics and understand, the network, stuff like that better.
yeah.
And to an extent, I'll be around tactics. 3 years at SWIC, 3 years is a long time. So in my
Mm-hmm.
mind, that was the best place for me to be, to stay, relevant, to go back and to truly be an asset on a team, because I was going there for progression, right? Like that was the whole reason why I was stepping off of my team. Um, dude, it bothered me. And then when the plan changed from you're no longer going to Robin Sage, you're going to SFAS, it bothered me even more. The guys I wasn't staying in contact with as much as I was before.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly not spending every day, all day with these dudes.
Yeah.
Not talking to them all the time anymore. It was bothering me, dude. And at this time in my life, like, the drinking had picked up, because
Yeah.
I wasn't running around with guns and stuff. Like, I was having a good time. SWIC is a break, like, quote unquote, a break. Um, and I get like some more just bad stuff in my family happened, and I was dealing with it with booze.
Yeah.
I was a raging dickhead to everybody, and I didn't even realize it. Nick, I forgot to say this. I was such a dickhead to my teammates it bothers me to this day. I believe, like, in my
Have you
memory,
told them that?
well, that's what I believe in my memory. I believe I have apologized to every one of them. Especially like when it comes to me coming to Christ fairly recently, like that was a big part of it, which I'll get into a little bit later. But raging dickhead, dude. But
Yeah.
it was normal for me, right? Like
You're angry.
the
Like
biggest.
all this shit builds up. You're angry about all this
Well,
shit, and you don't
yeah,
deal with it.
we're in an environment with like, hey man, we need to be the baddest, most
Yeah.
aggressive, like deadliest thing on the planet, and like you can't go through life like that. I didn't know it, but that's like I took on that role like completely, and that was my identity. And dudes that I should be like so thankful for and toward, like I should be treating well. I was a
Yeah.
dickhead, dude, and it
Yeah.
embarrasses me. It embarrasses me. I see, one of my old teammates. He was a junior Bravo. That got to the team kind of probably the last year or so as I was leaving. Dude, he got it so bad for me, man. And I see him at the gym, and he's such a good guy. Like I've apologized to. I really have. My son, he'll be 16 in April. I take him to the gym every day. He sees me talking to my friend, and I told him, I was like, hey, the fact that that guy talks to me openly, says hi, like talks to me about, you and how to get you into shooting and lifting and all this stuff. I was like, that's a good man, because I treated him in such a bad way. Like I'm ashamed of it.
Yeah.
So that, trying to paint a picture, I was a raging dickhead, like to the guys that I should love the most, right?
Yeah.
I got pulled away from that and inserted into a new environment. Family things got bad again. Drinking a lot, even more than before, bro. I mean, a lot. Like a 12 pack in a day is like, man,
Yeah.
getting warmed up.
Yeah.
Um, and then I met a really good lady, dude. She's an awesome lady. And I can never say anything bad about her. Um, she trained dogs, at the time, and she boarded them. Just a phenomenal lady. And fast forward, I don't know, probably a year or so, my children and I, we sold the house that we were living in. My kids are now with me
Hmm.
all the time, right? Which is, I know, is going, when it comes to my work or when it comes to being on a team, is going to be a big problem 3 years down the road. But for right now, it's okay because I'm not deploying. I'm at SWIC, so it's all
Yeah.
right. But I knew that was coming. But we sold the house that we lived in. We moved in with this awesome lady. And we were family, dude. Things were great. Working out at Camp McCall. I don't think life was bad. It really wasn't. But that is where things got really bad for me, man. Um, like I couldn't trust that things were good. Um,
Hmm.
and the drinking and being a dickhead just got out of control. It really did. And she told me in like the kindest, like nicest way, like, Tom, there's something wrong, and you need to get help. And like I blew it off, like I
Like every other
hurt.
time.
What's that?
Like every other time. You
Uh,
just if something's wrong, you just blow it off.
yeah. Well, she kept bringing it to me, and I kept putting it off, and then finally I was like, you know what? Here, I'll do something. There's a little behavioral health, little tiny. It was like a closet out on Camp McCall, and I went in there and I was like, hey, I'm supposed to come see you because like I'm angry and stuff. And the lady, it was so disgusting. I cannot believe she is paid. I can't believe she has anything to do with any soldier, let alone like Green Beret. It doesn't matter who. It was so disappointing. She's like, hey, try breathing. Like I'm not even kidding, man. Try breathing and counting back from 10 dude, I didn't even sit down. I slammed the door and walked out. Time goes
Hmm.
by, like still self-medicating, dude, like hardcore. Just angry at everything. And again, in the kindest way, she's like, Tom, if something's wrong, man, like I care about you, you need to do something.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, fine. Somehow I talked to somebody that could prescribe meds. Ended up going to some like nerd doctor on Fort Bragg, and they gave me some type of medicine that's supposed to level me out, and that started that road. Bro, it didn't work at all.
Mm.
Um, Things kept going the same, and then they got worse. As I was given more responsibility, I treated those that I love the most the worst. Um, Not sometimes, but all the time. Um, and now I'm starting to face the reality of like, well, I'm getting older. My body's not really keeping up the way it should. We do part of something at selection that happens is the trek, right? Or the long walk,
The
as
long ruck
people
march.
call it. Yep. Well, I ran two of those in back-to-back classes, zero training. We're talking uh, about 50 miles in total. Like I'm
Yeah.
not going to say how long each one were, but in total, about a month apart ish, about 50
Mm-hmm.
miles with zero train up. And that
Yeah.
my hip was already bothering me, and I had to get surgery. So the surgery's coming on. I know that what I looked at as a problem, which wasn't a problem, but of me having my kids, it's going to be an issue with going back to a team. This woman she was great. She's like, hey, don't worry about it. They're here. Like we're a family. Like we had talked a little bit about getting married and stuff. So that one problem wasn't as bad, as it once was. However, the booze and the anger, bro, I would shut off. I would not talk to anybody for days. Like, um, completely shut off to the world. And then I
Where's the
realized
TBI clinic? Where's the TBI clinic fit in here? Where does
it's coming.
Okay,
Still
okay.
not there yet. Still
Have
not.
you had TBIs up to this point?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so okay, that'll feed in later then. Go ahead.
Yep. Yep. I'm sorry. I should have brought that up already. But yeah, it's getting bad, man. Um, the day came, and she's like, "Hey, dude, I need my kids. My kids were gone. They were
Hmm.
visiting some family for a couple weeks, and this was like 2 or 3 days before my hip surgery. She like again, dude, in the kindest way, like the kindest foot, not mean at all. She's like, "Hey, man, like things have gotten so bad, like you need to get out." And I was like, "Yeah, like,
Yeah.
whatever." She's like, "No, no, no, Tom, you don't understand. I need you gone. Like you have made what has been a great thing into something that's so bad. I don't even want to be in my own home anymore." And I was like,
Mm,
"Whoa.
damn.
All right, you know what? I dealt with it like I dealt with everything else. Got a bunch of beer, loaded all
Mm,
my stuff up, went and slept on the team room until I had surgery, and then just bummed on a couch. Like,
yeah.
but you know, had to figure out a place to live before my kids came home. But by her doing that, Nick, that is what actually got put me in gear to start fixing myself.
Yeah, because like I said earlier, you won't do anything unless you have
No,
to or you
yep,
want to, and you need that catalyst because you're just going to keep doing the same shit
yeah, dude,
that you were
vicious
doing,
cycle. Yep,
and as soon as you have that first drink of the day, all your problems are gone, right?
yep,
They're gone. You're like, oh, I can deal with it tomorrow. Well, they just come back tomorrow.
and worse. Yep, dude, I
I'm
was.
not an advocate for sobriety. I think people can handle their drinking. I just cannot do it anymore. I can't drink
I'm the
anymore.
same. I'm the exact same. Yeah. So, I hoped, I was like, hey, maybe if she sees that I can get my stuff together, like things will work out. That was never the case. Like,
Yeah.
I had made it so bad that there's just no possibility. But I made the mistake. I was like, I'm going to stop drinking for her. Maybe
Mm.
if she sees that I've done this, that'll be a good thing. And, I told her, and, her response again in like a super kind, nice way, she's like, Tom, you can't stop for me. You can't stop for anybody. You have to stop for yourself because you want to. And I
Yeah.
was like, that was a mean thing to say. Like in my mind, right? She was right.
Yeah.
I
You
went
don't
right
realize
back
it
to
till
it.
later. You don't
Yep.
realize it till later.
Well, with the
That's
vengeance.
true.
And you're right, man. I cracked that first one. And what I came to realize is I was drinking so much, like, because one of two reasons. One, I wanted to feel something, or two, I didn't want to feel anymore. Like,
Hmm.
that was it. And dude, that's really not healthy. Like I'm with you. I think people, they can drink, have a great time. Like that's awesome, man. Like Jesus drank wine. You know what I mean? I can't do it. Like you put
Yeah.
it in my hand, and I'm drinking all of it. Um,
Yeah. And
just
because
because
we're, we're not going to be, having a couple at the party. We're going to have all of them at the party. We're going to
all
have
of
the
them.
greatest time. We're going to go Chris Farley on this motherfucker
Yeah,
here.
that's right.
And we're
Yep.
going to have, and then it goes back to, like you said, traumatic brain injuries, right?
Yep.
You you don't realize that there's something wrong,
No idea.
and then you introduce this other substance, and then you turn into like like a switch goes, and you're just a psycho.
Yeah.
And and I mean, now I'm how many years removed since I got hurt? 9, I think, since my last bad day. And a lot of the symptoms have gone away. They're still there. I had one today at the gym. I was like, "Oh, that's it. I'm dead." And then I was fine. Okay. All right, we're good.
Oh
But
man.
those things, especially TBIs, because it's not like a broken arm, right? I can fix a broken arm. It looks broken. It is broken. Let's put a cast on it.
Yeah.
When you get overpressure, or you just
Yeah.
bang your head, or even if you fire the Carl Gustav too
Oh
many
yeah.
times, you'll
Yep.
get you'll get weird. At Sear, I got slapped too hard. I
Oh
thought I
yeah.
was like having like flashbacks from Sear, and then years later, I remembered right before they right before the end of Sear, one of the cadre hit me extremely hard right here,
No.
and that was a couple minutes before we ended, and I had those symptoms going into the Charlie course,
Yep.
or into the Charlie course,
Yep.
and I didn't figure it out till years later. I was like, Nick,
Wow.
you've had concussions every year, and he
Yep.
just fucking hit you in the right spot. And I was having like nightmares and sick and all kinds of shit. Um, so anyway, what was your like process with that? Because now you get injured on a team and you get hit in the head, and that is an injury that nobody gives a fuck about at group.
You ain't lying, dude. Um. So I went. So right around this, like this fits right into my timeline, right? Like right around this time, um, I was drinking again, like not sleeping, like just life sucked. Everything
Hmm.
sucked. Everything was hard. Um, I was going weekly. I was going to see a shrink or
Hmm.
psychologist, however you say that. And I don't mean shrink in a derogatory way at all.
A psychiatrist can prescribe medicine, a psychologist cannot.
So I was going to
Or
see the psychologist, whichever one can't prescribe.
yeah.
I would, yeah, I was going weekly, and I don't think that would have happened if that super kind lady wouldn't have been like, "Hey, man, I care about you. Something's wrong. You need help." But doing that, and she's like, "Hey, dude, like, you need let's get you into this TBI clinic on Fort Bragg." And I was like, "Okay, whatever." Went there, and I've heard people have good experiences. I did not, and I was really disappointed. And I even got even more like depressed about it. I was like, I'm such a mess. Like things aren't getting better; they're getting worse. These people can't even help me. I'm doing 16 weeks of like these different types of therapy, and nothing is getting better. Like something's got to give here, man. The therapist that I was seeing, I saw her for a while, like over a year, I would say. Again, like I can't remember time well at all. She's like, hey, there's these programs that you can go get enrolled in, and you spend time there. And I was super again. I was like, I'm not leaving. I'm not going to go be a patient, like a mental patient. Like, what are you talking about? She's like, hey, it's not like that. And she explained it. And much as I, did not like it, um, I had at this point met a different lady, and she's like, you need to do this, dude, because like I see things that are coming up, like sleep, mood, like you name it, it's bad. I was like, all right, man, I'll do it. My sister, she's here in North Carolina. Kids stayed there, so I went to the I think it's called, like, the official name is the Polytraumatic Brain Clinic. It's the
Did you go
TBI
to
clinic.
Did you go to Walter Reed, or is this one
No,
at
it's
Bragg?
it's in Richmond, Virginia. It's the VA hospital at Richmond, Virginia. It's called the STAR program, um, which is on the East Coast. I think it's like the big TBI clinic. There's one I think in
Okay.
Florida and like
I went
Texas.
to Tampa. I went to Tampa. I did the one in Tampa, the
Okay.
MRT. Um, it was a trial. It fucked me up more.
Oh, dude.
And then I did Walter Reed, but it wasn't what they thought they were sending me to at Walter Reed. It was something else, and it was real depressing. The doctor said at the end, he's like, "We really can't find anything, but that doesn't mean there's nothing there because I described all my injuries to him, and he's like, that's just not something we can see right now." And I was like, well, I have all these symptoms, and
Oh,
I'm like, I have shooting pains, and he said, well, some of that's going to go away, but the stuff that we can't really see with what we have here, what is wrong with you, and stuff like that. And I was like, that's kind
man.
of, I didn't really take that too well, but I know what you're talking about. Like the concussions are tough. Uh, Football and all these other things have
Yep.
taught us is that first you're going to get hurt and you're going to play through that injury, and that's more so on a team, especially if you can't see it.
Yep.
And guys will just brush it off, and your mind comes back in. If your mind is strong enough to push your body to do it, it's going to affect your mood, your sleep, your attitude. You get that, and I don't know if I spoke about this earlier. There's the operator attitude, which is you're a dick in itself. Like
Yep.
you're not really a nice person
No.
when you're on a team,
Nope.
and then other personalities come in, and you kind of don't. But these injuries and a lot of these things with the drinking, the no sleep, the mood, the concussions, everybody's got these micro TBIs, right?
Yep.
Especially Green Berets with these overpressure. We're blowing up doors
Yeah.
12 feet from our head.
Yeah.
I still can hear the ringing from the Charlie course, and I
Yep.
didn't do that many explosions. It's never going to go away.
Yep.
So these are all overpressure, and then I had so many as when I was younger, and people do from sports that they never taken care of. Well, this shit
Yep.
kind of compounds,
I,
and
absolutely.
it just sounds like you were trying to make everything better, and no matter how hard you try with that, you're going to have to eliminate that stressor from your life because uh, it's tough to fix if you don't.
Yeah, dude. You're so right, man. Like being at the STAR program, like that I realized how stressed I was. Dude, all like there's a whole team of therapists. They do all kinds of stuff. And it did not encourage me to hear all these therapists be like, "You're a mess, dude. Holy, you're the worst we've seen." And I'm like, "Come
And you
on,
just
dude."
want to
Like,
tell them to go, fuck you. That's
yeah,
what
I
you want
was
to say.
like, thanks. Like, fix me. What do you mean? You know, like I stayed there for 60 days. They wanted me to stay for another month. I was like, no, nope, can't do it. I need to get home to my kids. Like, but the biggest thing that I realized was like the amount of stress that I was carrying. I have to do everything myself. Like, I've got to raise these kids, but in all that, like I was not doing a good job at life at all, dude. Like at
Mm-hmm.
all, and I was making it horrible, which I realize now, and carried a lot of shame for a long time because of that. But that's the first time I realized like I need to take care of myself. Um, Having that time to unplug was so important for me, like in my growth, healing, like all that stuff. Being able to unplug just for a little bit and to realize like, hey, life doesn't just suck all the time. Like there's certainly things that suck about it, but like, hey, like I was just seeing things that I had not seen in my entire adult life.
Yeah.
Um, and like, the memory, like, yeah, dude, it was, everything was frustrating. Like not being able to remember, not I never know anyone's name, never know like how long ago. Like trying to recall time is like it's useless because I don't know. I tell everybody the same thing. A couple months ago is either a couple days, couple months, couple years. Like I
Yeah.
have no, and I don't know why. Um, but it was making me just such a bad person, dude. And again, like I never felt like I was in horrible shape when it came to that. Like I know guys that are way worse off. Like
Well, because
I
you're
know.
here. You're here, right? You're in it. But if somebody looking at it from the outside would see it, but you're right here, and you've had this slow degradation of your personality and your the way you interact with other people. So you don't notice it. You don't notice
That's
you're on
right.
this downward trend, and all of a
Yep.
sudden you're at the bottom, and you go, "Oh, I might be in trouble here.
Yeah.
This is not where I want to be."
That's where I was, dude. I was in trouble, and I did not know how to get out of it. Uh, but like the last week or two of being in that TBI clinic, I don't know why, man, but like I brought my Bible. I had started going to church, for a little bit prior to that, but that's it. I was going to church like to please the girl that I was with,
Hmm.
um, but like it ended there. But I had Bible, I brought it, and I opened it, um, and like that's I don't know, like you say the Spirit like just brought it out of me. I don't know, but I was like, there's something to this, man, and I need to figure out what it is. And that's when I started real slowly, man, because like what a weird thing to change to is like finding God. But slowly I was like, hey, there's got to be something to this, and I started reading the Bible and like praying, going to church and listening, and trying to apply those things, dude. And over time, like things in my life have got so much better, dude. Um,
Hmm.
and that's the only thing I can attribute it to. It is like God and the Bible, like truly saving my life and showing me that like these things that are so horrible, like they're not so horrible. Like we go through like it sucks. There's so many
Hmm.
things that suck, but like the two things that isn't gonna hurt anybody, like one is like loving God with all your heart, and then loving everyone like fellow man, like that doesn't hurt me to do that. And I realized, and it was hard to do, but like showing that or trying to show that to people, I get a much better response. As
Yeah.
before, I was just treating everybody like garbage, man, like cussing at, like you name it, dude. I was a bad person, man. But slowly things started getting better, like truly. Um, and that
That's good, man.
I'm so thankful, dude. I really am. It's been a huge part of my life, this last year and a half, and especially since I've retired, it's been huge, dude. Um,
You got like it's a belief, right?
it
When
is.
you went to selection, you're believing in yourself that you can do it.
Yep.
When you take this step of trying to better your life, you believe you can do it, and then you're forcing yourself on this upward trajectory. Everybody has their thing that they look to or that guides them along their way. Mine's
Yep.
completely different from yours. I believe in me,
Yep.
and in the past, I've been a really bad person, a really bad friend. I've been bad to the people around me.
Yep.
But when I'm like this, when I'm sober, I feel much better. I love it. I love to hear guys they find religion and they that works for them. My view is completely different. I
Yeah.
I am not anti spiritual, but I am anti religion because I
Yep.
think religions take advantage of people,
Yeah, dude.
and they I that's just how I feel. Now, there's you go to listen to a church service or a really good speaker or pastor, there's great messages in there
Hmm.
for anybody,
Yep.
any
Yep.
denomination, just listen, and it'll make you a better person, and you just stick to that
Yep.
path. It's like when I talk to people about working out, just pick one that you like and just keep doing it.
Be
Just keep doing
consistent.
it and be consistent. And you don't
Yep.
have to be 100% every day. You could be fucking 10% every day, but then come back and, oh, now I'm at 80%, and just go. And, oh, what should I do for food? Here's what I do. Pick something and stick with it. And then
Yeah,
you'll
man.
see after time, if it doesn't work, pick something else. And you latch onto that thing, but stay with it. Stay
Yep.
with that and stay away from identifying things that are ruining your life, right? And get those away and get that away from your life. And no, that's great. I like to hear that. Um, and and it's just
You
being there for other people is will make you feel better in the end. It's that like that give and take of like there's alcoholics and then there's sponsors, right?
right.
It's a selfishness and it's a selflessness thing. You want to
Yeah.
be there for other people to help them, but it's also helping yourself.
Yep.
And like you said earlier, uh, you know, you've got to get sober for you. And that's really is. You've got to find your path, whether it's finding religion or finding God or finding whatever you do. I,
Yep.
I go to the gym. That's best part of my day,
Right.
is being in the gym and meeting people there and telling them what I do and things like that, and just being in that environment. So that's good to hear, man. It really makes me happy.
Yeah, I
It's tough,
appreciate that.
but it's a struggle, right? It's you got to keep it up. It's not
Oh,
just
100%, dude.
it's
I
like we said
struggle.
earlier.
Yeah,
You
dude.
know,
I struggle every day with it. But that's what keeps me focused, and that's what my hopes in, and that's what my beliefs in. And that's um, as far as like my recovery and healing and all that stuff. Like that has played such a big part in it. Like being able to finally put the bottle down. Like um, like you said, it's keeping me on track and keeping me focused, man.
yeah,
And it's awesome. That too, Nick. And I realize like the people that are in my life, like the people that are close to me, that really
yeah,
matters, bro. Um,
yeah,
in the past, right, when something would happen, usually a bad thing, the answer would be, one of your good friends giving you a bottle of booze and saying, "Here, drink that," or whatever.
yeah,
Just go sit in the corner or drink it, whatever. And that seemed, for me, that was always the response. And it was clearly that's not good. Like not dealing with things, not addressing things, really putting it off, and just punishing my body and my mind even more, right?
yeah,
Um, so, like, having supportive people that really care, not just about like my health and well being, but just in general, good people, man, that take the time to help somebody that they see in the parking lot or whatever. Like it's helped me like big time. So when those tough times do come, um, I feel like I can go to them and they're not gonna, be freaked out or like, oh, what do you mean you're not sleeping and having nightmares? Instead of like people looking at
Yeah.
me weird or telling me like, here, take a handful of these and you'll sleep. Like they care.
Yeah.
It's been huge, dude. Like, um, I have a super, super awesome girlfriend. Like, can't say enough about her. Like, um, I've basically everything that I'm telling you, like tonight, like I've told her kind of in pieces,
And my tens of listeners, and my tens of listeners.
and everybody else. Um, I've told her. Well, I get probably in my mind, I think I've told her all this stuff, in pieces here and there. But again, like I probably haven't. I'm not a very good communicator. Um, but like I realized by telling her this, like she's one of those good people. She cares, and like she'll ask the questions and like not pry. And one of the biggest things that I walked around for years with, man, and I don't know if you're the same way, but like I've been so worried about being honest and being open with people
Hmm.
that haven't been with me doing the bad stuff. Um, I've been afraid of like what they're gonna think of me. Does that make sense? Like I don't want I don't want
Yeah.
her or I don't want anybody to think, my children, like I don't want them to think like, man, you're a weirdo or you're just a bad person. Like get out of here.
Yeah.
That's something that's concerned me, but I realize like that's not the case, man.
It's yeah, that's always a concern, right? Is hey, what's the quote? If we knew each other's secrets, what comforts we would find. Uh, it's always concerned what other people think of you. Getting away from that is very difficult, right? Is you need to focus on the being the best version of you and being around people that support you, and then you support them, and
Yeah,
it, it's tough. It is tough, but you just have to not really give a shit what people think about you in that way. You just have to to be the best person that you can be. It's yeah, it's easy to say. It's much harder to do. To be there for your friends and to be there for the people and to show them that we're all different, and in the end we all go through loss, and we all suffer in our own way. The worst thing that's ever happened to you is the worst thing that's ever happened to you, and the
that's
worst
right.
thing that's ever happened to them is the worst thing that's ever happened to them. So it's all relative, right? And to some extent people understand, and to some of it that just don't want to listen, well then maybe you don't need to be around those people.
Yeah, yeah,
um, and I guess it's a fine line of figuring out what that line is, because you can choose who you're around to a certain extent. Um, now, when you're in the military, though, it's tough because they choose who you're around,
that's right.
and you have to deal with that. And we don't deal with it very well when we're forced into a situation we don't like.
Yeah,
Right? Like,
yeah,
oh, I'm in this bad situation, and I'm gonna complain about it. I'm gonna take it poorly. And if you got a shit assignment, and you got a shit duty location, you got a bad attitude, your bad diet, bad exercise, and you're drinking too much, you're gonna have a fucking terrible time. It's gonna
yeah,
eat away at you. It's gonna eat you, and it's gonna kill you.
yeah.
And that's how it happens. Like, this is not a one-off thing. Like you and me, similar experiences.
No,
I could sit down with every Green Beret, and they'll
that's
have,
right.
they'll have a similar story just like this. And I
Yeah,
hope to do the same thing, but
I hope so too.
we don't do that. Like, it doesn't happen in the team room.
No, you're
Uh,
absolutely right, man. You
and
know,
that's the schedule. Yeah.
I realized that you know the trust thing or just having personal relationships became really difficult, man. I don't know if that's something that you've dealt with, but like for me, it was almost non-existent. It's like I repelled people, and if anybody tried to get close or began coming close,
Hmm.
dude, I would push them away so hard. And I think like the TBI, I think that had something to do with it. Like with carrying a lot of shame. Like, dude, I feel like I'm retarded. I can't remember anything. Like, I
Yeah.
can't tell you how many times I checked my keys, my phone, my wallet. Like, I'll do it 10 times in a row because I forget that I did. You know what I mean? Like, that's embarrassing, and like I don't want to have to explain that. Um,
Yeah,
it was just
that's a part of it is if you have to explain, but if somebody's really your friend and they really care about you, then they'll understand. And if they're not, then fuck them.
yep.
But
You
that's hard to get into your head, That's hard to get in there to get that attitude of well, if they're really my friend, they'll understand. Guys understand, but everybody's got their own problems too.
you're
Uh,
right. It's
and
scary. Like we can do all this wild stuff, right? But like the dumbest things are scary.
yeah,
Like I went, through something like this with April the other day, dude. Like um, I was being an idiot, and I didn't want her to think, well, he's too far gone. I just had that in my mind, and it took like going back to good people being around you. She's like, dude, I don't care. Like, I
yeah.
appreciate everything you've done, but like, I'm here for you. Like, I like you. Like, you're it. Like with all of it, and I was like, that was the first time anyone's like really spoken those words, and I was like, man, that's awesome. Like for me, that's been a big like I don't know if breakthrough is the word, but like just knowing that there people don't think that we're all weirdos.
Well, you're just maturing, right? You're growing up. You're 39 now. You came into the army at what,
18,
18?
bro. Yep.
18?
Yep.
18? And I have this like theory that your emotional growth is stunted from the day you join the military.
Ooh.
You come in and you lived, like I said, you lived in this world and you had to fit into this world with jobs and a normal society, right? And then you go to a different planet and you're basically born again. You go through basic training, you learn how to be a soldier, you learn how to be this different person that is completely detached from who you were. And I feel like you are born again to this different person and you have to grow up and you're
Mm,
influenced by all of these people that also are going through the same thing for the first time in their lives and nobody knows how to handle it.
that's
Nobody. So
yeah.
you live your whole life as a civilian and you grow up the whole time, but 18, 20, 25 years old, you have to learn a
Yep.
different life on a different planet with a different culture, different set of rules. You can, you're out painting just the most ridiculous shit. And you're all growing up at a different rate. So when you're having all these problems, you're a teenager, right? In this
Yeah.
growth of your
Man.
life, you're 16, 17, 18 years old, and you're going through it for the first time in your life. And I think that's something that people don't think about is like everybody's going through this for the first time. But now we're on this segregated planet. And then one day it ends, right? Military ends.
Yeah.
And
Then
and
what?
you and then that life dies.
Yeah.
And you got to go back to a world that you haven't been in contact with for 20 years.
Yeah.
And then then you can really go off the deep end is you don't know how to interact with people anymore in society. But you got to figure it out. And you said, being a Green Beret became your whole life. That attitude and that life became your whole persona. A lot of guys do that. I have forced myself to stay into that life because I think I can do stuff for Green Beret Foundation or raising money
Yeah.
or helping guys and talking to guys and things like that. I have I didn't deploy. I didn't go do any cool schools. I had a very successful, disappointing career. was where I was a bad motherfucker, but I didn't do any of the cool shit. But I don't have any holes in me. I can stand up in front of hundreds of people and speak. I can
Yeah,
talk to
man.
people. I can do this. I can do all these other things, and I really enjoy it. So, did I miss out on anything? Yeah. Will I get over it? Probably. Maybe not. I won't ever get over not deploying. I
Mm,
wanted to deploy as a Green Beret. I didn't get to
yeah,
do it. I won't ever get over that, but I'm fine with that. Some of my buddies, they didn't come back and
yep,
whatever. And
yep,
we have to learn how to grow as a person in this fucking new life. But I do want to go back. So
yeah,
when
man.
did you got promoted to Master Sergeant, right?
No,
No,
yeah,
no.
sorry, I didn't
So
finish that.
were you
So,
NCOIC of selection as a 7?
yes.
Okay.
So, go to SWIT for progression, right? Like, that
Yeah.
was the whole reason, CSM's like, you pick or I'll pick where you go. Out there, like, successful, great job. Very thankful for it. Had a great time, like, at work. My personal life was a disaster. Um, Getting ready to go back to group, right? Like, I couldn't go to a team. It was just me and my kids, right? And I went to the third group CSM at the time, told them what's going on. I was like, dude, I'm at the end of my career. Like, I want to go back to a team, but I can't. Like, I need a place to go. So he put me in charge of mobility detachment for the Advanced Skills Company. Awesome. And I had time, to be home, take care of the kids, make sure that everything's good at the house. So the Army changed, like, the promotion system, right? They went to this
Hmm.
OML, like, weird stuff. Like, I don't know. I think they really screwed the pooch in a lot of ways. It seems like they're finally ironing it out, but, like, I would be within 30 of, like, getting selected for promotion, and I'm like,
Hmm.
what? How? I've done everything that's supposed to happen, like, everything from the AARs of the board. Like, I have them, the best ratings, like, in charge of the biggest course that our regiment has. Like, what gives? And my sergeant major, he sat me down, like, he talked to smarter E9s, I guess, and they're like, look, you have to go back to a team. Like, you go to a team, dude, you'll be promoted in a year. And I was like, oh, well, that was a hard pill for me to swallow. So I had to choose, like, I was like, I can't do it. I cannot do it. Like, I put kids through too much, man.
Yeah.
And that's when I, like, made that decision. That's I've been trying to, I guess, to make up for a lot of lost time with them. So never got promoted to E8. Um, I was very salty about it for a while, but I'm not anymore, man. I'm perfectly fine with it.
Good.
But it's one of them things that was a growing point for me. Um, it's absurd for me to sit here and be upset about that, like, a status, really. When what's important is my kids. They'll always be my kids, right?
Right.
The Army doesn't care about me. They're like,
No.
oh, you're here, all right, get out of here, go figure it out on your own. They'll always be my kids, and they put up with a lot, man, like, a whole lot.
That's good. And once you realize, there's always somebody that's a higher rank or more awards or more schools and
Yeah,
was more badass here or did all this other stuff. But then there's also somebody that wishes they would have got to where you were. And
yeah,
so you just be like, I did everything my country asked me to do. I did it to the best of my ability. And, I'm still here and still alive.
yep,
So,
yep,
but could we have done it better? Probably. Probably. We could have done things, but we weren't in this headspace. We were then. We were in that headspace. and dealing with
Exactly.
those issues. Team life is tough. Being an operator is terrible. Like, it can be terrible. It can be great, uh, but it can also be really terrible too on every aspect of your life. So how was the? So we're not going back to a team. Put the packet in. How was that transition from? All right, because you're basically in support role now, right?
Yep.
So now, how was that transition from green suitor to civilian? Did you take advantage of all the programs available to you, or did you just kind of get out?
Dude, so I did, I'm sorry. I did the, I don't even know what it's called, but like you get the 6 months to like do an internship if you so desire. Um, I went to, I think it was like 2 months. It was called the Soldier to Agriculture program.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want to have like a little farm, like self sustain my family. So learn some cool stuff there. Um, but as far no, I could have done a lot more. Like things were available, I will say that. But the whole like retirement process, man, like I was pretty and still am pretty bothered by it. Like there's so much unknown, right? Like people are missing their retirement dates because there's no like, hey man, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do that. It was, and I don't know if it's for everywhere, but at least for me and like a couple of my close friends getting out at the same time, it was like luck of the draw. Like, hey,
Hmm.
did you talk to this person? No. Why do I have to do that? Well, you have to go here before I can sign. It was a disaster, and it was super disappointing, man.
Did Green Beret Foundation come out and do a brief transition brief with you guys? Okay, they're doing more of them now. It's just they're still growing. Before, when I got out, it was Oasis. Was it Oasis, or it was something? And yeah, I still don't think there's enough support for guys getting out to tell them you need to do all these things. Of this is how to get out as a SF guy. All right. Yeah, I don't think like some of those like the programs that should be there are like fully available to all the guys getting out of group. Is that kind of what you saw?
Well, I'm not sure, man. They could be. They're just there wasn't information like readily available. Like I would ask, like all kind, like go to S1. Like the S1 kids didn't care, nor could they answer questions. So it was like an Easter egg hunt, man, to try to figure out what I had to do. So there could have been, briefs from the Green Beret Foundation. I just wasn't aware of it, and I know that a few of my friends were in the same boat.
Hmm.
It was just kind of bizarre, because anything you do in the army, it's pretty black and white. Like, hey, you got to do this, be here at this time, and have this stuff with you. And getting out just wasn't the case, dude. I struggled with it too, man. Like, um, big time.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
transition, bro.
I think they. It's like the system feels like you're turning your back on it, and they go, you figure it out for yourself.
One hundred percent. Yeah. Yep. They don't care anymore. Like, oh, you're no longer, a part of this machine or whatever. Like, just get out of the way, dude. I don't know. I struggled with it, man. I was having like full on anxiety, panic attacks. I went to the ER like 4 times, dude. Like, it was waking me up out of dead sleep. Like, just couldn't breathe. Like, just full on freak out mode. Super bizarre.
Damn.
Yeah, I don't know. And, there wouldn't be like any one thing that would trigger it. Like, I wouldn't be in deep thought, like stressed out over anything. It was just carrying around the stress or just the unknown was really, really messing with me.
Yeah, it's a big step, retiring, and even 20 years doing anything. That's a good amount of time. You're
It's
pretty
my
accustomed
entire
to that.
adult life.
Yeah, you're pretty accustomed to that life, putting on the uniform. You're being told where to be, when to be there, how to do everything. It's all written in the manuals. It's all written
Yep.
down for you. And then now it's going to go away. Now there's no manual. Now you're the boss and you suck. I know
Yeah,
I do.
for real.
Fuck. I got to tell myself what to do. All right. I don't want to be homeless. We got to figure this out.
Yeah.
Did you get your rating all taken care of with the VA and all
I
that?
did. Yep. So who Green Beret, I don't one of the SF groups or whatever, they helped me through that whole thing. They assigned somebody to it or to me.
Yeah.
And really they did all the work, dude. Like I had to sign some documents. The lady was awesome. I can't remember the name of the found it might have been the Green Beret Foundation. Yep. I mean, on my end, it wasn't very. I just went to some appointments. Got 100% total and permanent.
Good.
Which even that, like I was stressing about, which shouldn't. I shouldn't. I
No.
try to tell guys that now, like it's gonna work out. As long as you've been to the doctor, you'll be fine.
Yeah. It does work out. I wish I would have had a little more instruction when I got out. I had some. I was also very angry about getting out, so I didn't. I wish I would have been in a better mindset, looking at things like this is the future and things. So not quite at 100%. 90. Working on that last little bit there for me,
Good.
but
Yep.
we'll get it taken care of. But really, yeah, just yeah, it is something. Yeah, it is stressful getting out and going off and trying to figure things out. But decided to stay in North Carolina. You're tree service now, right?
Yeah, man. Yep. Staying here until my daughter, she's going to graduate high school this spring, and my son next fall will be a junior. So I'm not going to go anywhere until he's graduated. Or I might stay right here. Honestly, I'm not sure. But I've been cutting trees here locally with a good friend of mine. He's really my mentor when it comes to like uh, the business stuff, the tree stuff, and ironically, he was one of my candidates when I was the NCOIC of selection, which I think's wild. And he reminds me of it. His name's Hunter. Just great dude, big old. I mean, just looks like any of us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fits the mold for sure. And this past summer we were doing a pretty big job, and he climbs, so he was 50 feet up in a tree, and I was beat, dude, and I was puking because I was so hot and like exhausted, like projectile vomiting. And
That's not good. I don't know if you're aware. That's not good.
well, it gets better. I hear the chainsaw cut off, and Hunter yells down, "Hey, candidate, pick up your weakness and put it in your pocket." And I don't
Yeah.
know if you've ever tried like laughing real hard when you got puke like flying out of your mouth and your nose, but it makes it a little harder. But he got me good on that one.
Yeah, yeah. That's a line very few people would understand.
Yep.
That's
Well, I tried to
uh,
explain that to April, and she just looked at me like, "You're a weirdo."
yeah, no, nobody's gonna get that. That's a inside joke. You got to go through a lot of trauma to understand
Yeah.
those sorts of things. Do you think? Speaking of trauma, like why? So why do it all? Why go through this? Why put yourself through all of this? Is it just to see see what you can make of yourself in the end after it's over now? Why do it? Why did you put yourself through all of that stress and those hard things to do to come out on the other side? Why did
Dude,
you do it?
I I think, and this is just Tom's humble opinion. I still think like guys like you and me, there's like some primal stuff going on, right? I believe it. I think that there's something that drives us, and we're like you said in the beginning, like you got to your duty station, you're like, this is not it. Like I want more. Like I think that's just built in our DNA, and that like truly, like doing that stuff, like war fighting, like being a conqueror, like being victorious, like I think that's a part of who we are, man.
Yeah.
Some people are born to be like librarians or whatever. That's not me. That's not you. Um, I, I don't know. I just think it's who we are. And if my path would have been differently, or would have been different, um, I think I probably would have gone just as hard in whatever it is that I have here. Um, I can't imagine what I would have done though. I really can't. Um,
Did you ever think about going to the next level selection for that, or no? Is that not an option where your career was?
nope. Well, there was a period of time where I thought of going there to do like something more specific, but I couldn't. It my
Yeah.
my good friends, my teammates, they're like, hey, dude, like if you want to do that, you need to change your lifestyle. And I wasn't
Yeah.
willing. That's pretty sad, but it's truth.
Yeah. I mean, that's the truth of it. There's no room for error when you're going for
Right.
that. You better have that knife sharpened and ready to go when you step off to go do that shit. Did you have teammates that went and made it to
Yeah.
the, yeah.
Yep. Yep. Sure did. None of them. Well, one guy was. One guy out of a handful was successful.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I think two from my company. I think yeah, two from my company went while I was getting out right in that time frame, and there were no doubters. Just physical specimen, and then
Yeah.
just studs, just excellent, very proficient, very knowledgeable, very smart. It's like, oh yeah, of course, that's yeah, perfect.
Right.
Yeah, that's where you belong. I've yeah, I think about that, but then I'm like, I don't care. Like now that I'm out, I was like, that would have been great while I was in, but my path didn't go that way. I think about it, think about what that life would have been like to do that, but you know,
Yeah.
good for them. I I would have liked to have seen some of that stuff, that other side of the fence, but that's not the way it worked out. You know.
I know, man. That stuff's hard pill to swallow sometimes, dude. I would. I've gotten the itch lately, though, and I have not had it for a while. Um, been cutting trees. Like I like that. There's some excitement. Doing some man stuff, running chainsaws and equipment and whatnot. But it's not the same. And I think it's important for me to teach my kids like how to hunt, how to shoot, like
Yeah.
stuff like that. Things that we do. Um, and I've been taking my son out on the range and teaching him how to run a pistol. Boy, I miss it, dude. A lot. I've got online. I've looked at places. I was like, ooh, man, I can apply here. I can do this, but like at the end of the day, I will not be gone until my both kids are graduated from high school, and that's I'm sticking to that.
Yeah, it's tough to recreate that feeling of some of those. Well, you've got the combat side of it, and mine would have come from training and things like that. But you can't recreate the feeling of being in a stack, and then you put the charge on the door, and then you step back, and snipers go on two, demo goes on one, and you go through the door. You can't recreate
Yeah,
that. You
How
can't
cool is
recreate
that?
any of that stuff and nobody will understand it. Like you are just, you've been training for this. It's all coming up to this moment. Everything's set up. You've got all this coordination and all these eyes on you and everything, and you're ready to go. And you just two snap, crack, bam, through the
That's
door. You can't, and that's addictive. That's
that's
something of
right.
the life that is you can't recreate that. There's nothing in the civilian world unless you go back into contracting that you can recreate that or make that, have that feeling come back. And I think that's kind of to look back and go, at least you could say you did it and not just say, oh, I wish I would have done that. Oh, you can look back and say, you know what, I did that shit and it was fucking
Yeah,
badass.
it's fun. You know, so one of my good friends, he was a fifth group guy. We worked together out at Camp McCall at Selection, and he retired. I don't know, maybe my last year, 2 years there. I don't know, but he started way back when he was a highway patrolman for South Carolina. And dude, he's an awesome guy, and he super proficient, at CQB, super proficient at shooting, and he started a company training law enforcement in South Carolina. He still has a lot of connections down there, and he needed some help running training. Getting his company started. So when I had time, like he'd schedule some classes, and I was his primary instructor for, dude, I don't even know, maybe the first 5 or 6 courses. And we were training like all kinds of law enforcement, like SWAT and SRT guys. Um, and it was awesome, dude. Like we'd start out, simple flat range stuff like stationary. We'd go to target transitions. Then, I'd teach them walking in depth, teach them walking laterally. And then we'd start introducing some CQB, making doorways and having them enter different techniques, and getting them to put rounds on target. And then we would take them through like strong wall CQB stuff. It was a week long. He had them doing PT every morning with like a culmination, like a PT test, coupled with a couple like stress shoots. Dude, and you want to talk about awesome, Nick? I love that, and I really enjoyed that, and I
Yeah.
wish, um, that to me is awesome. Like at this point in my life, like that's giving back, and
Yeah.
I'm cool with that right now. Like, yeah, I would love to be like kicking in the door, like in the stack, and if it happens, I'm so thankful. But if not, like that fact of giving back and still like being relevant and really helping these guys out that are doing it every day, like that's awesome to me. It's super rewarding.
Yeah, you got so
It's,
much knowledge, right? You have so much, you can't teach combat deployment. You can't like in the level of stress that you guys that went on these things, it's super. I mean, it was stressful. Anything in the civilian world doesn't even compare, right? You can't teach that, and to just be able to put that into training other people, to where I'm going to show you how to go into this situation
yeah,
and how it really, really is, and that real knowledge, and that's invaluable. And it's one of those. That's two sides of the coin thing: selfishness and selflessness, right? It's great for you and it's great for them. It's
yeah.
like it's a give and take relationship. I mean, that's something. If you really love it, go find a way to do it. You know.
Dude, honestly, I think that I, I think I'm gonna be looking for a way to do that. Um, that was a really good time. Um, and it works. Like that gave those guys confidence. Like law enforcement, their budgets suck. Like we
Mm-hmm.
trained everybody from like the state troopers, to sheriff departments, local police departments, the what do you call it, the state bureau of investigate, all those dudes, man. But their funding is so bad, like they don't even get ammo to go shoot. Like
Mm.
like you're doing something that is requires clearing rooms, clearing structures, and you tell me you guys don't really train ever? Like, that's a problem.
Yeah.
That I
You know,
wasn't sure of.
that's, yeah, it is a problem. Like, police are the flip from us, right? Police are on deployed all the time when they're all the time, and then they'll take some time, like time off, and they'll whatever. I don't really know how. Let's say they're doing office stuff, but when they're out, they're on.
Yep.
Whereas for us, we're training, and then there's a deployment.
Yep.
But so you're on this, you're just training for this. But
Yep.
if you're on all the time, well, when are you getting your rounds in? Or you're just on the job training. Yeah, it's kind of that's a bummer to hear because you got to get if you're not getting those reps in, you don't see. I don't see this situation. If you see a situation for the first time in real life,
Whew.
uh, you know,
Dangerous, dude.
yeah, and then you got younger guys and having to learn stuff on the fly. So
Yep.
that's a bummer to hear.
Well, there was goodness in it though. After or during, I can't remember if it was right after or during one of the classes that we were teaching. One of the officers, I mean, he got shot in the leg, but he was able to. I mean, we taught him like medical stuff, how to put a tourniquet on, how to stop bleeding.
Yeah,
Um, he was able to stop that threat from shooting him,
yeah,
put him down, and he was able to treat himself. Like he handled it great, and I was like, man, like, hey, Paul, like what you're doing, your company's making a difference, bro. Like that guy easily could not be here right now, and I know
yeah.
for a fact that man did not know how to use a tourniquet, nor was it a part of the agency, the team's SOP to carry tourniquets.
Or
Um,
where it's like for us, I got tourniquets in the truck. I got
Me
them
too,
up there
everywhere.
in my bag. They're all over the house. People are like, "What do you got these for?" It's like, "What if my leg gets blown off?" What
Yeah,
the fuck are you? What the fuck are you talking
you
about?
never know.
You never know, man. Um, did it go by too fast? Did you ever stop and look around and know you were in the glory days, or did you
Yeah,
just get to the
no,
end and it was over?
I knew it, man. There were so many times where I'd be like, I cannot believe I'm getting paid to do this. Dude, I thought that so often, like it cracked me up, like that I'm doing this for a job. Like if only people knew, if people could only experience like this moment that I'm having right now, and
Yeah,
whatever that what if it was like about to jump out of a plane or like in the air or like, on the range or in a stack, whatever it was, like I had that thought often. I was like, this is so cool. Um,
yeah,
but I do know, bro, like things progressively got worse, like physically, mentally. Um, and at the end, I knew it was time. I had to get out. I had to unplug in order for anything to get better. That it was
yeah.
my time.
You only get so much time to do a certain block of experience, right? And if E7 on a team, you can only be in you can be it your whole career, right? An E7 on a team your whole career, but you can't physically take that abuse for that long. So if you're not making it to 8 and then going on to us being on staff and stuff, where you go into a support role,
Yep.
it just grinds you down, and then you get to 20, you're like, I'm out of here.
Yep.
Whereas, okay, now your team sergeant time's done, and you go on staff, you're like, maybe start feeling better. Okay, yeah, maybe I can stay longer and do some other stuff. But if you get to that time, I can sympathize with that. With okay, it's time to go. It's time
Yep.
to hang it up. Um, I got a couple questions here, and then we'll wrap up.
Yeah, bro.
What now that you're a veteran, what's your response to thank you for your service?
Oh, that's a good one. Um, it makes me very uncomfortable. I don't know why. Yeah, funny story. It makes me uncomfortable. I always tell the person, um, thank you. I don't know. It's almost like I try to outdo them with giving them thanks. I don't know. What are you supposed to say to that? Like, you're welcome? Like, I don't
I
know.
just I heard
Um,
a good one right when I got out. It was the guy. I say it's an honor. It was an honor.
ooh, that is
That's what I
good.
s- that's real simple to the point, and that's giving them. It's basically saying thank you for thanking me. It was an honor. It really was.
I like
So.
that. I like that.
Um, and then you don't have to think of it. You got to have one in the hole because I meet a lot of people and they say that and they say, "Oh, thank you for your service." I said, "It was an honor. It really was." And I have that because the more people I meet and the more I do public stuff, you got to have that answer ready to go. So,
Yeah, you're right, man. I like that. Last week, Hunter and I, we cut down a pretty big tree for an older couple here in the Southern Pines area, and the lady's husband was in or is in hospice, and I just assumed that he was in a different facility. But as I was wrapping up, I noticed that they had a Marine Corps flag hanging outside their house, and she had a disabled vet license plate. And I asked her, I was like, "Oh, hey, I assume your husband was in the Marine Corps," and she's like, "Yeah." Um, so she asked me, and I was like, "Yeah, I just retired from the Army this past August." Her husband's still in the home. I'd never dawned on me that you can be in hospice and in your own home. So she got him, and he came out, and I didn't know what to say. Besides, I didn't ask her to get him, but I was like, "Hey, thank you for your service, man." And he looked at me like I look at people, like, uh. But and I noticed, like, I recognized the awkward moment, and I was like, "Hey, man, you must have been in Vietnam. Like, I just really respect, what you've done, and like you're paving the way for guys like me." And then he's like, "Oh yeah, okay, you were in too." I was like, "Yep."
yeah,
So that was good. But that was the first time I've thanked anybody like that, and it was just funny to see his response. Like, well,
yeah.
"You're welcome." Like,
You're welcome for my service. God damn it.
yeah.
Uh, God, talk about a bad deal of things. Unpopular war, and then one
Ooh.
day you get out of high school, and you're like, "Hey, guess what? You're going to Vietnam." Oh
Oh.
shit! Can I say no? No. You got to go anyway.
Oof.
Totally opposite of the global war on terror. It's just people signing up all day long to go.
Yeah. Yep.
So just what a shitty. But yeah, mad respect to anybody that had to go went to college in Vietnam.
For
All
real.
right, what if you had to pick one? What is the one characteristic that sets operators apart from the conventional army? You have knowledge of both conventional and from the operator side. What's the one characteristic?
Man. One. Um. One. I think. I think that operators have a unique ability to problem solve, and I think that ability to solve and to want to solve problems kind of feeds into a bunch of other, like, drive. Like,
Yeah,
it, what's the problem? Well, I need you to get from here to there, and it's real hard. Okay, well, I need to do. I think for me, problem solving is what sets us apart the most.
yeah, because being successful on the teams is a problem. You got to figure it out.
Yeah,
Just
yeah. There's just
always
constant.
just break constant coming up as a new guy and then being successful and moving around in the army. So I like that. All right, what if you could pick the one moment of your career to go back and relive? What would it be?
Ooh, one moment to relive. I ain't just rolling around with the boys, like, with a bunch of guns and demo and just like everything mean that'll, like, kill you. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, like, yep. I don't have many pictures, man, but I have some. Um, and it reminds me, like, that was fun. Like, again, like I think our fun might be a little different than other people's. Like it might suck a whole lot, but it was fun that we had that suck fest together.
That's it's you can't make a knife without heating it up. So
That's very
yeah,
true, man.
you in the team environment you suffer together, and sometimes that suffering is a lot of fun.
Yeah,
You're rolling around with you've got demos strapped to you. Everything that can kill you or kill other people, and
yeah,
and you don't think about it at the time. You don't think about that at all. You're
not
just
one bit.
locked in, and you're
Yep.
just riding around. And it's fun when a team is well, yeah. I'm sure it's fun when a team is clicking on all cylinders and working together. But
Yeah, man. You know, I don't know why this makes me think of this, but we were out in like some swamp in Florida once, and we were doing some recon, and my team sergeant, one of the echoes, and myself, we were on this tiny little piece of dry land. I don't even, it was probably floating. And it was dark, and we're watching this building and like relaying stuff. And, dude, like I watch Swamp People. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but I've heard like what baby alligators sound like in alligators. And when it gets dark, like those noises come out. And they don't spend a whole lot of time in the woods besides work. And I was like, "Hey guys, those are alligators." And they're like, "Shut up, dude." And I'm like, "I'm not kidding." Then they'd hear splashing, and I was like, "All right, you guys can stay down there, man. I'm getting as high as I can right now." And then, once we exfilled and we were back and had some Wi-Fi, I Googled alligator noises, and they're like, "Dang, man, you were right."
uh, God, yeah, the dark in training hides a lot of things. The woods, they start making noise
Yeah, that's
wherever
crazy,
you're at.
man.
You start hearing noises that you don't hear in the daytime. You're like, what the fuck was
Yeah,
that?
yeah,
I
man.
said that I said this last time the guy was on. I went when I was did the star exam. I had just watched that movie, The Village. So every noise out, it's I'll
I haven't
send
seen
it to
it.
you afterward. But I just had in my mind during the star exam there were monsters out there, and I was like fucking freaking out. It's like I was like, man, you know how to land that. Pull yourself together here and just walk out into the
Keep it together,
darkness.
man.
Just keep it together. Um, all right, what is the best piece of advice that you got during your career?
Ooh, the best piece of advice that I got. I think it would be to ask for help. I think the best advice I've ever got was to ask for help. Um, and that goes in a lot of directions. Like certainly being a new guy on a team, dude, you don't know anything, right? Ask for help.
Nothing.
That's I would all tell everybody, every new guy. Like I don't care if you've been around forever. If you're new to our team, like you ask. I would much rather take a couple minutes explaining something to you than take the risk of us looking bad or whatever the case may be. Like ask for help. And then, for sure, when it comes to like mental health, like, bro, ask for help. Your physical health. Like, we put too much stuff off. Like, every dude has gone through way too much and has sacrificed, like, legit sacrificed way too much to, like, be putting these important things off. Um, Sorry.
No,
And
you good.
yeah, ask for help, man.
I like that. I like that. I do. Uh, that's something, and it's humbling too, because you got to, hey, just get over yourself. I don't know
Yep.
how to do something, and every everybody else here does.
Yep.
I can't do everything by myself. Let me just go ask this person, and if they tell you to fuck off, well, maybe that's an asshole, and I'll go over here.
Yep.
But
Lesson learned on that one. Yep.
all right, last one, last one. What were you afraid of then, and what are you afraid of now?
Oof. Uh, I think failure. then I was afraid of failure, for sure. Um, and now I'm afraid. I'm afraid that if I don't invest or if I don't invest into my children, that there's going to be issues that come up for them. If I don't put all my focus, not as much focus as they need, if I'm not raising them the way that they need to be, that it's just creating a rocky road for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
It's respectable. Man, it seems like you care about your kids a lot. That is
I
awesome.
do, man.
Really,
Those poor
really.
kids, they've been through the ringer, dude, and they are such. It blows my mind that they're my children. I'm not saying that to be fun. Like it really, they're good kids. They're like all about doing well in school. They're super good athletes. Like they're good humans, man. I'm super lucky.
I think one thing I haven't spoken about on here, because you've brought up your kids so much, is the military life exacts a toll on the soldier, but it really destroys the life of the family.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Like I said earlier, the Army doesn't care. They just want you to do your job. And they really don't. I mean, they say they care about the family, but they really take out their anger issues on the family.
yeah. That's a good way to put it, dude. Yep, you're right, man.
So anybody that's had to live and support and live that life and is still there and still talks to you is
For
muchos
real.
gracias to them. Well, Tom, I really enjoyed this conversation.
Me too, man. Me too.
Um, I hope we stay in touch more,
Yeah, bro.
and I'm always available. And you got anything for me?
No, man. I really thank you. Thanks for taking the time and dude, like the things that you're doing, Nick, are so important. Like so important, and not everybody can do it. Like just the fact of you being able, you being willing, to stand in front of a bunch of people and speak, like to speak truth, to care and to want to help. Man, I wish more people were like that, dude. You've got something that I certainly don't have, and that's the ability to communicate well, to communicate effectively, and to help, dude.
Yeah,
And I thank you, man. I really do.
I appreciate that. Like I said earlier, just like in on the teams, somebody's got to do it,
Yeah,
and I I want to do that, and I think more guys should get involved in what they can do well and what they can contribute. Because now we're a veteran, right?
yep,
And we've got to uphold, and it's especially like the unit we were in, like we were a Green Beret, we were badass dudes, and we have
yep,
to live up to what society's expectation of what we were when we were in uniform and we should be afterwards.
yeah, man.
I try, fail, and try and fail and try and keep at it and just try to keep improving. But uh, and then hopefully it'll inspire somebody to do something else. You don't know
Yeah,
who's listening to your stuff. You don't know who's going to listen to this. Some soldier that you might have had eventually might listen to an interview of old Sergeant First Class Bridgham, you know, uh, and go, fuck, I got that same shit. I need to talk about that. So you never know who's going to listen to stuff. But life life's pretty easy, but it's also really fucking hard.
yep. That's
So,
right. That's
and
right,
we're
man.
all we're all we're all growing up together. So, Tom, thank you for coming on. I appreciate you.
Yeah, brother. I appreciate it, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye, everybody.